In this exciting full stack tutorial, we are going to build something truly futuristic. An AI powered medical voice agent app using Next.js, React and AI. All packaged into a production ready SaaS application. Imagine a virtual medical assistant that talks with your users, understand their symptoms and provide an AI driven response all in real time. That's exactly what we are going to build today. From front-end UI with a voice interaction to back-end AI intelligence and real-time audio streaming. We will cover everything step by step. But let me walk through the application first. Let's see what we are going to build in this particular project, and then we'll talk about all the tech stack which we are going to use to build this application. If you see, we have this beautiful landing screen which I'm going to tell you how easily we can build this one. Then this beautiful animation or animated component, how can we add it, everything we're gonna learn it step by step. With the help of Clerk authentication, we added a Gmail and email password authentication, and after sign in you will jump directly on this beautiful dashboard. At the top you will see this beautiful header section. On the right hand side you will see the profile option to manage your profile. If user is new and coming to the first time, you will see this empty option because we don't have any recent consultation history. So you have option to create a new one, or you can see all the specialist doctor agent. Here we will see all these different types of doctors agent. Now currently you are on the free trial, so you can only access to the general physician directly. Okay, but if you want to get access to any of them, you have to buy or join the membership. That's what I'm going to show you the next. But before that, let's see how it works. So simply I will say start a consultation. Here you can add your symptoms, what is happening to you. So in this case we'll say I have some body pain. Then we'll say next, and then our AI model automatically check which doctor is the best to help you. Okay, so in this case if you see, the general physician and orthopedic can help us to remove or to fix our problem. Okay, so we'll select the either of the one, then select the doctor which you think best for you and start the consultation. Once you start it, you will jump onto this beautiful conversation screen. At the top, currently you are not connected and you have option to start your call, so it will start the conversation. So let's test this out.
Hi there, I'm your AI medical assistant. I'm here to help you with any health questions or concerns you might have today. How are you feeling?
I have some back pain from last 3 to 4 hours and I'm really going through it.
I'm sorry to hear you're in pain. Let's figure this out. Did you strain yourself recently, lift anything heavy, or make any sudden movements? Is the pain sharp, dull, or more of an ache?
Yes, it's a sharp pain. I lift some heavy weight, so I'm really looking for some painkiller tablet.
Got it. Lifting heavy weights might have strained your back. Over-the-counter painkillers like ibuprofen or paracetamol can help reduce pain and inflammation. For now, try resting, applying an ice pack to the area, and avoid heavy lifting. If the pain worsens or doesn't improve, consider seeing a doctor. Let me know if I can guide you further.
Okay, I think I'm good. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Take care of your back, rest up, and I hope you feel better soon. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need more help. Take care.
And then it will automatically redirect you to the home screen. It will also generate the final report in the background, which I'm going to show you now. But if you see how seamlessly in a real time the AI voice agent giving you the response, not only that, but we also getting the speech to text in a live streaming format. Okay, as soon as you speak, you are getting that text displaying on the screen. So with the help of Assembly AI, you will learn how easily we can add speech to text live streaming feature into our application. Now, once you jump onto this dashboard, you will see your previous or latest consultation report. Just now, or here you will see the 2 minutes ago we got this, and here you have option to view report. Once you click on this one, you will see the detailed report. Here you will see the session information, the complaint, the complete summary about your conversation, what the doctor or agent guide for you. Here you will see the symptoms. Not only that, but it also give you the medication that you can even take, ibuprofen or paracetamol. Obviously that is very unknown tablet, okay, and then rest recommendation. How cool it is, right? And now obviously this user on the free trial, so user cannot create any more consultation directly. User need to join the our pricing model. And if you see here as well, I cannot click or join a talk with any consultation. So simply I will head to this pricing section, and with the help of Clerk subscription billing feature, we are going to add this billing pricing within just one line of code. Yes, you heard right. So with the help of Clerk billing, we added this beautiful subscription model where you will find an option to subscribe inside your application. It will not navigate to any other third party URL. Okay, with the help of Clerk and the Stripe, we have this beautiful checkout subscription model option. Obviously currently it is in development mode, so you have option to pay with the test card, and once you make a payment, say the payment is done, and then you will navigate to the dashboard again. And now you have option to create a consultation. Here now you can talk with any agent directly from your dashboard. Okay, so that's how easy it is. So guys, that's what all we are going to develop in this particular video. At the end of this particular tutorial, we are going to deploy this application directly on the cloud so that you can share with your friends and family. I will put the link in the description so that you can test this demo and you can check how it actually work in a real time. This particular is a application is a game changer SaaS application which you can build it, and you can make money by making business with this application. This is a completely responsive application which we are going to build, so you're gonna learn step by step how we are going to make this SaaS application completely and fully responsive. Now let's talk about the tech stack which we are going to use to build this application. The very first and my favorite, we are going to use a Clerk authentication. Clerk is not just providing authentication service, but it also provides a billing, subscription billing features where you can integrate the subscription model within just one line of code. Okay, so that also we are going to learn how can we do that. For speech to text in live streaming mode, we are going to use an AssemblyAI, because AssemblyAI provide you the best streaming speech to text, also with a low latency, more accuracy, and within one of the best cheapest rate you will find with the AssemblyAI. But don't worry, in this video whatever we are going to use to build this application is completely free, and you don't need to pay for any service. Then for the database, obviously I'm going to use a Neon PostgreSQL database with the help of Drizzle ORM. And to build and to bring all these AI model together to build an AI agent, we are going to use a WAPI AI. Everything we are going to deploy on Vercel with the help of GitHub. So guys, if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, press notification bell icon so that you will not miss any update, and if you really like this video, press like button. Also, if you want to access all my source code or exclusive courses, simply go to the tubeguruji.com where you will find an exclusive courses and the source code for each of the project, and you can follow the step-by-step chapter as well. So without doing any further delay, let's begin to develop AI medical voice agent application. Now it's time to create a Next.js application. As Next.js is a React framework to develop the web application, where it provides a lot of different features like built-in optimization, dynamic HTML streaming, and most important React server component, along with the folder-based routing, which is quite helpful to build any complicated or big web application. So that's the reason we are going to use a Next.js. Now in order to create a Next.js application, if you see, this is the command to create it, or you can simply go to the documentation just to explore more features about the Next.js. Now simply open a folder where you want to create a project and open a terminal at that folder. Then simply type a command npx create next app at latest. Now at latest will install the latest version of the Next.js. If you want to install a specific version of Next.js, make sure to enter that version and then simply click enter. After that it will ask you the project name. So here we'll say AI medical voice agent and then click enter. Then it will ask, do you want to use TypeScript? So we'll say yes to it. Then say no to ESLint, yes to the Tailwind CSS, so it will install the Tailwind CSS version 4 for us. And no to the source directory, yes to the app router, and no to the turbo pack, and no again. Now as we are using TypeScript, if you don't know how to use TypeScript or you never built anything about the TypeScript, don't worry, because it is quite similar to the TypeScript, except you need to provide a type to the each of the field that you are mentioning. Okay, that we're gonna learn in this particular course as well. Then once the project is created, if you see project is created, I will close this terminal and simply open the VS Code. Then open a folder at that open the project where you just created this project. So in my case it is in the projects Next.js, and I will open this folder. Now on the left hand side you will see some files and folder get created. Let me walk through each of this folder. The very first folder, which is app folder, in which we're gonna write all our pages, code, all the routing, everything, or even in API as well, we're gonna keep inside this app folder. Now the very first file, which is global CSS, which contain a CSS styling which is applied throughout the application. Then we have the layout.tsx, which is the root layout of your application, which contain the metadata along with the HTML and body tag, and inside this you will see these children. Now all the pages or route are going to render through these children, which is inside this HTML body tag. Now the metadata is quite helpful for SEO purpose. Now here if I change, here we'll rename this to AI medical voice agent. You can update the description, and even if you want to update the font, you can update that too, and then simply save it. Then we have the default page, which is the page.tsx. Now once you run the application, you will see this particular page.tsx file are getting rendered. Now one more important thing, if you see the file name with an extension .tsx, which stand for TypeScript extension. Okay, so if you want to use a JavaScript, just change to the JSX, and that's all you need to do. Then we have the public folder, in which we are going to keep all our images, fonts, whichever files you want to access it from the local as an image, for example, or video URL or video, you can keep it inside this public folder. The node module folder contains all the packages which help to run this application. Obviously we are not going to touch this folder anytime. Then we have the next.config.ts file, which contains the configuration related to your Next.js application. Then we have package.json, which contain the name, version of your application, along with the script to run to build your application, and the dependency along with their version, and the dev dependency as well. Now this dependency is quite important, because if you want to update any dependency version, you can just change this one and then make sure to update your packages by running npm install command. Now you have two options to open a terminal. Either you can just drag this up and then it will open a terminal for you, or simply go to the terminal and click new terminal, and then that's how you can open the terminal as well. Now anytime you will see this option to add a new terminal. Okay, so once you click, it will add a new terminal inside the VS Code only. Now in order to run your application, just type a command npm run dev, and then it will open a port 3000 on URL localhost 3000. So we'll open this URL on the web browser, and then you will see the default page getting rendered on the screen. Now I will put this side by side. And we'll go to the page.tsx file. Now whatever you see on the screen, it is written inside this page.tsx. For example, let's change this particular line. Okay, so I will just remove everything from here and we'll say hello world and then save it, and boom, if you see, the text changed to the hello world. So that's how easily you can make update to your page and it automatically get refreshed as soon as you save this file. Now I will remove everything and then we'll keep empty div, and then you will see a blank screen. Inside this we'll add an h2 tag and we'll say subscribe to Tube Guruji. So guys, if you did not subscribe to our channel, please do subscribe, and as soon as I save, you will see the text is displaying on the screen. That's how you can create a Next.js application and run it very first time. Now the next step is to install a Tailwind CSS based UI component library called ShadCN. Now ShadCN UI library is very popular among the developers, which help us to develop your UI much faster. So simply go to the ui.shadcn.com and then go to the documentation. Select the correct framework, in our case is a Next.js, and then this is the command to initialize the ShadCN. So I will copy that, and inside the new terminal I will paste it here. So it will initialize the ShadCN for us. So here we will say, do you want to proceed? Say yes, and then it will ask the base color. Okay, so you can select any base color which you want. So I will select, let's say, gray, and obviously we're gonna change that base color. Okay, we'll add our own primary color as well. And right now if you see, our ShadCN now initialized successfully. Now whenever or whatever component you want to use from the ShadCN UI library, you have to install that first. So in this case, let's say you want to use the button. So copy this and then simply install this button component. Now once the button component is installed, you will see when you initialize the ShadCN, so a couple of file and folder get created. The very first folder, which is component.json, which contain the ShadCN related configuration like which style, the aliases, the Tailwind related configuration and everything. Then inside the lib folder we have util.ts, which is related to the ShadCN, and the most important, inside the component folder you will see the button component which we just installed is inside this button.tsx file, which contain the default code as well. Cool, right? Now let's go to the global CSS file, and inside the global CSS you will see a very big change. All this color code is getting added. Now obviously we don't have the tailwind.config.js file which were in the version 3 or older. Now in version 4 everything is moved to this global CSS file which contain your all the styling. For example, if you want to change a primary color, you have to change it here. See, okay, so that's how it works. Now very first thing, let's use this button component which we just installed. So we'll add a button component, say subscribe, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application and then, whoa, why the button component is not showing? So it's very quick fix. There is a small bug inside the ShadCN. So simply go to the global CSS, and at the top you will see this TW animate CSS. Just remove that, save it, and then it will fix your problem. Obviously you can keep it back. Okay, it happens sometimes, so it depends on the version and ShadCN version. You have this small bug, but it's very tiny one. But right now you are able to install the ShadCN UI library as well. If you have any question, any doubt until this point, let me know in the comment section, or you can ask any question on my Discord channel. The link is in the description. Now we are going to add an landing screen for our application. Obviously for the landing screen we want to add navigation bar at the top, the hero section, and many other features and section you can add that too. And for that one I am going to use an Authentication UI. This is the based on ShadCN, and it provides a very different animated components which you can use it without writing any complicated code. You can just copy the components and then you can use it to your application. Simply go to this ui.asseternity.com and then go to the components. Now once you install the ShadCN, which we did it in the last chapter, you don't need to install anything. Okay, inside the CLI, if you see, you have to install ShadCN, and that's all we needed. Now whichever component you want to use, you can directly obviously first you can install that. Okay, so here is the installation command, and then you can copy the code, example code which you want to use. And if you see this example, how beautiful it is. So simply let's consider we want to use an hero section. So if I scroll a little bit, you can search for the component for the hero. So let's scroll a little bit over here, and here we have the hero section. Now make sure to select the CLI. Okay, so you can directly copy this npm command and then go back to your application. I will close all of this tab for now and then simply paste it. Now it will install the ShadCN with this component. Okay, and inside the component you will see this hero section component get added. Obviously you have option to control and modify and customize according to your need. Now inside the code section you can copy this code as it is. So I will simply copy this example as it is. So we are using TypeScript, so I will copy the TypeScript one, then go to the page.tsx file and simply I am gonna paste all of this code. Now over here if you see, we don't have this motion react, so make sure to install this motion react library. So for that one, go to the motion.dev and here you will find the command. If you go to the quick start, you will see this example as we are using react. So copy this command to install the motion react, and once install it should work. So let me save this first. Let me go to the page.tsx, and now if you see, we don't have any error. Now inside the page.tsx one you paste, make sure you will mark this as a default export component. Once you save it, and boom, this is how beautiful you see this landing screen. Currently this landing screen is inside the div. Okay, so we can just update that. So we don't need the margin X at all, so we'll remove that too. And if you want, you can remove the border if there is any. And I think they give the maximum width size, so we'll remove this maximum width size, and I think this is much better. See, now it's a completely full screen. Now obviously over here you can update the title, the dialogue and everything. I'm just going to copy and I am going to paste some information over here. So just search this text and then I will paste it here. Okay, and then for the description I already have, which is related to our application. And here we have explore now, contact. I think we don't need this button, but we can keep it as it is. And then for the other things you can add more data into that. Again, if you go to this AssemblyAI UI, you can find more different components. We can easily use it. For example, this feature section component is also quite good, which also you can use it. Okay, then you have this bento grid that is quite interesting, say, and let me show you how we can add that too. So first, once you open any component, copy this. So go to the CLI. I will copy this JSON CLI command, not JSON, but the component is from the JSON. And once you install this component, then you can directly use this. So I will copy this code as well from the TypeScript, and over here we'll say constant features bento grid, and the arrow function inside this we'll say return. I think we just need to Okay, so over here a lot of things we need to add. So just copy this, and it's better you can create a component for that. So we'll create an underscore component folder, and whatever the components we are going to use for this page.tsx or which is shared across the application in different route, we can keep inside this underscore component folder. Now when we give this name underscore component, it means this is not considered as a route. Inside this we'll say feature bento grid.tsx and then paste this. Now I will just rename this to bento grid feature bento grid. I will remove this and then we'll import this bento grid from this component, see, and then save it. Now once you add that, you can simply add this bento grid. So our name is feature bento grid, save it, and let's see how it looks, and boom, if you see, we have this beautiful bento grid. Now this is the hero section, and then after that we have this bento grid. Obviously right now I'm not going to update everything, but in the production you can see the complete related text and content which is with our application. Okay, but this particular chapter is just wanted to show about this Ascertainty UI, how easily you can add and make your site more modern for your business and application. Before moving forward, it is very important to understand the application workflow so that we can implement each section step by step. Now very first step is that when user visit to our application, we are going to show a landing screen, and from there, in order to access our application, user need to authenticate to our app. Once user submit the credentials, depends on the if credential is correct and successful, then we are going to give an access to the dashboard. Otherwise, if the authentication fail, then user need to sign in again. Once user in the dashboard or a workspace, we can call user have two options to start a new session. Now once when we call a start a new session, it means if user want to talk with our AI voice enable medical agent, then user need to enter some basic information along with the name. If user have some symptoms, he can enter some symptoms, or any specific query that he want to ask, he just enter into the text area box. Okay, so once user add all the information, then our AI model will give you some suggestion of doctors list. Okay, obviously it's a doctor specialist, so you have option to select from these different options, and once you select the option, then it will start a voice agent where it will be a two-way conversation, and then you can directly talk with our medical specialist voice agent. Okay, so this is the complete flow of our application. Now obviously going forward in this particular course, we're gonna learn and implement each section step by step, so that you will learn how to proceed with this particular flow inside this project. Okay, so obviously first thing first, we need to add an authentication to our application, and in order to save all the data at one place, obviously we need a database as well. So that's what we are going to see next. Now in order to set up a database, we are going to use a Neon's PostgreSQL database. The link is in the description to check out this Neon PostgreSQL database, which is free to use, and most important, it provides a lot of different features and very easy to integrate. It also supports various different stack. You can use it directly into the Next.js, or you can integrate with the help of Drizzle ORM or Prisma ORM. So whichever you like it, you can use this Neon PostgreSQL database into your application. Now in this particular tutorial, we are going to use a Neon PostgreSQL database with Drizzle ORM, and setting up the Drizzle ORM along with the Neon into the Next.js application is quite straightforward. So simply first thing first, we'll go to the Drizzle ORM website, and into this one simply go to the get started. Now obviously we want to use a Neon PostgreSQL database, so make sure to select this option and then make sure to install this Neon database. So copy the first line, then we'll go to the terminal, simply paste this command. Next you have to add this diesel kit as well. So this diesel kit very helpful, it enable you the local studio where you can access your database, so make sure to install that too. Then you need to set up a database URL inside this .env file. So we'll create a .environment file and inside that we'll simply add this database URL. Now this database URL you need to get from the Neon PostgreSQL database. So simply click the link in the description, then simply log in or sign up, depends on whether you're new to this Neon. Then create a project, and once you are in this project dashboard, here you will find an option called connect. Just click on it, it will open this dialog. You will see there are a lot of projects which I built with the help of Neon PostgreSQL database. Here you have option to create a new database and give the database name. So here we'll add AI medical voice agent, and then we'll simply say create. Now once you create, you will find this connection string. Copy this connection string and simply paste it here and then save it. Now once you have this connection string ready, head back to the drizzle ORM. The next step is to create an index.ts file. Okay, so obviously we're gonna do in our own way. So I will copy these both the lines, head back to our application, and inside the root directory we'll create a config folder. Inside this we'll create a db.tsx file and simply paste the code which you copied. Okay, as we are using the TypeScript, so make sure to add this exclamatory mark and then save it. Now if you want a synchronous connection, you can use this line of code as well. So it's up to you how you want to use. Okay, but if you want to use synchronous, I will just paste this code and everything will be as it is. Now it is very important, in order to use this db reference you need to export this db, okay, and then save it so that you can use it anywhere inside the application. Now next step is to create a table. Now in order to create a table, you need to create it with the help of this schema file. Okay, you need to write this line of code, you can add the column and everything. So in our case, let's copy this, but from the next time we can create our own table by writing this schema. Now inside this config folder we'll create schema.tsx file, add the code which you copied, and if you see over here the table name is users, then pg table is the reference which is importing from the pg core, and these are the column get added. Now we don't need a age, so we'll remove. We have the id, name and email. Okay, and you can even add credits if you want. Okay, just add and then you can give the type, or this need to be integer we can add. For example, we are giving just a type, which type of this column is, so we give it as an integer and then save it. Now once you save this, let's create this drizzle.config.ts file, which is the drizzle related configuration. We'll need to create this in a root directory, and inside that simply copy the code which is mentioned over here. Now make sure, I will remove this out for now, and over here we need to provide the schema path. Okay, so I will remove it and we'll say config/schema.tsx, because our schema is inside this config folder and otherwise everything is as it is. Now next thing, once you define this, you need to push your changes so that it will be available to your database. So simply run this command called npx drizzle kit push, click enter, and then it will install it will push your all the tables which is mentioned inside the schema. Now once you push it, you can go back to the Neon. Inside that you have the tables, and under the table make sure to select this AI medical voice agent from the list if it's not selected by default, and then you will see a brand new table get added to our database called users. Inside this there are ID, name, email and credits column. Whatever the column you mention inside the schema, all of this column get added to our table. How simple it is, right? Now obviously every time whenever you want to check your database, you need to go to the Neon and check this out. But there is another way that you can do it. You can even run this database locally. Just run the command npx drizzle kit space studio. Now drizzle kit provide you their own drizzle studio, which is similar to what you see inside the Neon database. Now if I open this, once you run, it will run your studio on the local.drizzle.studio, and boom, it will display your user table. Obviously you are running on locally, and here you have all the columns. Obviously you have option to add a record. You can run the SQL query as well, or you can run drizzle query as well. Okay, all of this or all the functionality is available inside this local drizzle studio as well. Obviously throughout the application we are going to referring this local drizzle studio whenever we want to access the database, and that's how easily guys you can create a database with the help of Neon PostgreSQL database and the drizzle ORM. Now obviously anything you want to save it or fetch it or make any CRUD operation on your database, you don't need to learn any PostgreSQL query. With the help of drizzle ORM, we're gonna do all the operation. That's what we are going to see throughout the video as well. Now it's time to add an authentication to our application. So when user come to our app, we need to authenticate the user in order to access all our application services, and that's where the authentication play very important part. Obviously if user is authenticated successfully, then we are going to redirect user to the dashboard. Otherwise user need to sign in again if the authentication is failed. And for the authentication purpose, I am going to use a Clerk. Clerk is one of the best authentication service provider, and it provide a lot of different feature. Not only that, but along with the authentication with the help of Clerk, we are also going to integrate the subscription billing with the help of Clerk. Clerk recently introduced the billing feature where you can easily integrate the subscription model to your app within just one line of code. Yes, you heard right. So with the help of Clerk, you can easily add the subscription model which is attached to the Stripe payment gateway, and is very easy to integrate as well. In the profile section, you can manage your subscription, and all of these subscription plans features you can add through this Clerk billing feature, and that's also we are going to see in this particular tutorial. So simply click the link in the description and go to the Clerk. Once you are on this one, simply go to the or sign in to your Clerk account. Once you sign in, simply go to the option where you have an option to create the new application. Now many of my application uses this Clerk authentication. Now once you click on the create application, it will redirect it to this particular page where you can give the application name. Here we'll say AI medical voice agent. Then you can select the different sign in option like email, username, phone number, Google, Facebook, and there are many others. As soon as you enable or disable any of them, around the right hand side you will see actual preview that how it gonna look on the screen. Once this is done, simply click on the create application, and then your application now getting created. In the meantime, we'll follow this step in order to integrate the Clerk inside your Next.js application. These are the some steps that we need to follow. Now very first step that we need to install the Clerk SDK. So we'll copy this command. In the new tab, we'll paste this. After this, you need to copy this environment keys. So copy as it is, go to .env file and we'll paste it here. After this, we need to create this middleware.ts file. Now this file is very important. This is one of the best feature inside the Next.js application, which help us to protect your routes. So I will copy this middleware, create a new file called middleware.ts, and then simply copy the content and paste it here. Next thing, we need to wrap our application inside the Clerk provider. Okay, so that it is applied and your application is completely authenticated with the Clerk. So simply go to this layout.tsx, which contain the root layout, and I will simply wrap our application something like this. So we'll say Clerk provider, and obviously we need to import this Clerk provider import statement, something like this. So let's copy this one for now and make sure the Clerk is installed successfully. Okay, and I will just paste it here, and if you see, now the error is gone, and then save it. After this, if you scroll down, obviously if you run your application, so this is our application, if I run this one, nothing is happening, right? That's because we did not protect any route yet. So inside the middleware.ts, we don't have logic which will say that your route, this particular route is protected, right? So simply go to the documentation again, and we'll say continue to the Next.js guide. Here first we'll create our own sign in and sign up page. So simply we'll copy this route, okay, and because we need to create a folder called sign in, inside this we need to create this folder and then page.tsx. So simply copy the complete path, then inside the app folder I will create an auth folder, and inside that we'll put sign in and sign up page. Okay, so if you see, it automatically created the sign in page and their route, and we'll paste this code. Then obviously we need to make this sign in or as a route, public route. So if you see now the middleware, now it's showing the public route, and then this added this Clerk middleware to protect the route. So I will copy this middleware, and if I go to this middleware.ts, I will replace the complete code with the new one which we just copied. Now here if you see, this is the sign in page, which is a public route, means it is accessible without any authentication. And then you have to update this environment variable. So I will add this environment variable as well, and obviously I also need to add a custom sign up because we just added a sign in. So we'll add a sign up as well. So it's very straightforward, guys. So you just need to follow the step by step guide, and then you are good to go. And our sign up page is also ready. Make sure it is publicly available. So I will add this new route, which is the sign up, and then we'll update this environment for the sign up. Perfect. I think that's all we need. And now if I go to our localhost 3000, you will see the page is redirected to the sign in page, and that's where it's showing us the login or sign in screen. Cool, right? So that's how easily you can add a authentication. Now this page is not look good. Now you have few options that you can customize this page. Okay, now simply the easiest way I will keep this component in the middle. So let's go to the sign in and then wrap inside the div. Something like this, and then we'll say class name flex, item to be in the center, and height to screen, and justify center. So it will be in the center of the screen. See, same thing we have to do for the sign up. If I click sign up, right now it's showing on the left side because this is just a sign up component, and this particular component showing this complete UI. So you don't need to even add any UI. How cool it is. So simply I will wrap this in a div, and then we can mark this as a center. Perfect. Okay, so guys, that's how you have to do it. Now Let's sign into account. So I will select the Gmail account. You can even sign it with the email or a magic link as well. And now if you see, I'm able to sign in successfully. Currently, once it is signed in, is showing on or redirecting to a home screen, right? Now you have option, you can add a redirect URL. So here you have after sign out URL, or maybe you have force redirect URL. So once it is successfully signed in, you can redirect it to the dashboard screen. Okay. Now once you sign in successfully, right, let's go to the page.tsx file. Here you can change this login button to something like dashboard and user profile icon as well. So simply we'll go to the navigation bar. That's where we have this login button, right? Now in order to get whether user is logged in or not, you can get the user information with the help of one hook called use user. Now this use user hook is importing from the Clerk. Now if I scroll up, you will see it is importing from the Clerk Next.js. Now whenever you use any hooks, you have to mark this component or page as a client side. Now once you mark, then you can use this one, and then you can check if user is not there, then it means user is not login. Then you can show this login button. Otherwise, I am using this ternary operator. I want to show a div, and inside the div I will add a button, a user button component from the Clerk Next.js, and let me show you what it do. So once you add this user button component, will go back, and boom, if you see, we have this beautiful user profile icon. If I click on this one, we have this beautiful Clerk based component where you can have option to manage your account. You can even sign out from the account. Inside the manage, you will see this beautiful pop-up to manage your account profile and all, and that is automatically added by the Clerk. Just one component, okay, just one line, and it will do all the magic for you. Also I want to add a button called dashboard. So here I will add a button component, and inside that I will just say dashboard. See, now let's bring everything in one line, because if you see, the button and the profile image is not aligned. So here we'll make it flex gap of let's say 5 and item to be in the center. Perfect. And now it's working perfectly fine. So that's how you have to do it. Make sure when user click on login, right? So over here I will wrap this component in a link tag. Okay. Now this link tag I am importing from the Next.js only, and inside the h-reference make sure to redirect this to a sign in screen. So whenever user click on login button, it will redirect it to the sign in. Now this link component from the Next.js is similar to the anchor tag inside the HTML CSS. Also same thing you have to do once user click on get started. So I will wrap this in a link tag. Maybe we need to wrap, let me undo this, we need to wrap this motion div only. Oh, I think I don't want this button. Let's wrap this link and save it. See, okay, perfect. So that's how we have to do it. Now once user is signed into our account, we need to save the user information to our database. Okay, so in order to do that, we'll create one provider file. So we'll create provider.tsx, and this provider will start with the name small p. Now this provider will be on the client side, okay, and will keep our layout.tsx on the server side. Okay, now in order to write a logic on the client side, that's the reason we created this provider.tsx file. Inside this we want to render the children. So here I will add a children. Now make sure the type will be similar like this one. I will just copy everything as it is, that will be easy, something like this. Okay, and then go to the layout.tsx and make sure to import this your provider, and then pass these children inside this provider. Okay, now obviously on the UI side you will not see any change. We just passing these children from the layout to the provider, and provider is rendering that children. Now inside here we need to check if user is already saved to our database or not. So here we'll say check user, I will say create new user, create new user. And obviously here we need to check if user is already there or not, and then depends on that one we need to save the user information to our database. Now for that one we are going to create an API for the users information to store or to retrieve from the database. And to create an API endpoint inside the Next.js application is very easy. You don't need to set up a different server like a Node.js or anything like that. Simply go to the app folder. Inside the app we'll create a new folder called API, and that's where all the routes which you want to create you can put inside this API folder. Next.js will automatically detect that are the API endpoints. Okay, as simple as that. Now inside this we'll create an endpoint called users.tsx. Okay, so obviously this need to be a folder, so we'll create a folder called users. And sorry, I think I did not create it. Let's create a new one. We'll create a users folder. I will write in a small only, and then inside this we'll create a route.tsx. So all the API endpoints need to be logic, whatever you want to add, you need to add inside the route.tsx file. Inside this we'll create export async function, and this need to be a post request. So you have get, post, put, delete. See, in our case we want to use post request, then we have to provide a request and then next request. Okay, the type is next request. Now let's get some user information. Now you have two options, either you can pass the user basic information or you don't need to pass any information, because on the server side, because API is obviously on the server side, you can get the user information by just calling constant user is equal to await current user, and this is importing from the Clerk Next.js server. See, okay, and this particular current user we have fetch from that we are going to fetch user information. Now here we'll check if user already exists. If not, then create new user. Okay, so we'll add a try catch block. Now if there is any error, we'll return next response.json with an error e, and inside the try we'll check constant users is equal to await db. Now this db reference, obviously if you see it's importing from the config/db dot, it has a method called select. Inside that we need to provide the database name from which you want to fetch, so we'll say users table, and this user table is importing from our schema. Then we have where clause, and inside that we need to check the column match, so we'll add equal sign or equal method, and inside this we'll say user table dot email matches with our user's email, so we'll say user dot primary email address dot email address. As simple as that. Now here it's saying cannot find a name, make sure to import this from the drizzle ORM. Now sometimes you might get this error, so in order to avoid this you need to add a ts ignore, so it will, this error will gone. Now this method will check if, or we can just say if users dot length, means if there is no user is equal to 0, then we'll insert a new user. Okay, otherwise we'll return the user information. Okay, now obviously this is from the Next.js response, we'll just say users of 0, because these users contain list, and from that we need to provide the first element, and then if there is no user found, it means this is a new user and now we need to create into our database. So we'll simply say constant result is equal to await db dot insert, and then in which table, so we'll say user table dot values, and inside this you need to provide all the value, let's say name, so we'll say user dot full name, then we want to provide email, we'll say user dot primary email address dot email address, and then credits, the by default you can give, let's say 10 credits. Okay, it's up to you. Now once you add that inside this provider, when inside this create new user method, we'll call this API endpoint, so we'll say constant result is equal to await Axios. Now this Axios is the HTTP client library, obviously we don't have that, so we need to install by adding command npm i Axios inside the terminal, and then make sure to import this Axios. So once you add, make sure to import Axios, so maybe we'll add again, so make sure to import this Axios, and then we'll say Axios dot post, because this is post request slash API slash users. Okay, so this API endpoint you need to provide, and as we are using await, so mark this as async and then save it. Now inside the console we'll just check the result. Okay, now one more important thing, so if I go to the route, here you need to write the result, so inserted record result as well. So inside the returning we'll say users table, so whichever the record is inserted it will return this one, and then inside the response we'll say just a result. Okay, and then save it. So that's how our users post API endpoint is ready. Now obviously here we are calling this endpoint. Now you have to make sure whenever this provider getting called, so inside the use effect we need to call this method. Now if you don't know how the use effect it works, so use effect is a React hook and it is obviously used in the client side. The most important thing about the use effect, so whenever you want to execute any logic, you have to add inside the use effect, or you have to call it from the use effect, because use effect will execute every instance. But if you want to execute this only once, you have to provide this empty array. Okay, so inside the provider, whenever this component get load, we are going to execute use effect only once, and then we'll call create new user method whenever this method get executed. But we also need to make sure whenever the user information is there, then only we want to call. So for that one I will use this use user, and once we have the user information I will pass it to the use effect, and then I will execute this create new user only when the user information is available. Now in this case, whenever the user information is available, this use effect will get executed. Okay, so that is also a very important point to understand. Now inside the result we'll get the result.data, inside that we'll get the information. Let's save this one, go back to your application. As we are using use effect inside the provider, you have to mark this component on the client side. And then save it. Now inside the inspect panel, if I go to the console, you will see new record get inserted, and inside the provider.tsx on line 19 we got the result. See, and inside the result we have the user's information which is inserted to our database. If I go to our database, if I refresh this users, you will see brand new record with the ID 1, the name, email and the credits. Okay, if I try to refresh this, and if I refresh it, you will see only record it's fetching from the database, but because in this case it's checking whether the email is already exist. If yes, it's not inserting the record. Okay, so obviously it's avoiding a duplicate insert record functionality. So that's how you need to save the user information as well. Now next thing, we need to save the user information along with the credit information into or at some place or in some state, so that we can share it across the application, right? And for that one we are going to use a context. So in order to add a context, we'll create a new folder inside the root directory, we can call it as a context, and inside that we'll create a user detail context.tsx file. Inside here we'll create export constant user detail context is equal to create context. Okay, make sure this create context is importing from the React. Okay, inside this we need to add a type. So basically let's define the type inside the provider. So at the top I will define a type users is equal to, or user detail is equal to, and inside this we'll say name of type string, because we are using the TypeScript, so we have to define a type. For email it's a string, and the credits it's a number. And over here make sure you will export this type so that you can use it at other places. You don't need to define every time. And here we need to provide an empty value, so that's, let's show undefined. I don't know, undefined is not working, or maybe here we'll say undefined as well. Perfect. Now once you define the context, you need to wrap your application inside the context so that you can pass or use this context in order to share your information. Now once you define the context, it's very easy to share the data. Okay, so at one place update your context anytime from any component, and it will applicable to all the components. So simply we'll say user detail context dot provider, and make sure to wrap your children something like this. Now to this provider you need to provide a default value. Now in order to provide a default value, we'll define a state called user detail comma set user detail is equal to use context. Sorry, not use context but use state, because this is a default state. Okay, now for this context I will say user detail undefined. Okay, and then I'm gonna pass this user detail information to this provider, or maybe for now I will just here provide as any. Okay, maybe we have this error because we need to define all the types. Let me go back and provide any. Okay, so that will be good now. Perfect. Now once you define this context with the provider and some default state, now whenever you get the value, you just need to set over here, we'll say result dot data. Okay, but not only this, inside the route we have to make sure you will get, or it will return the same kind of data. So from the result it will also get the, so here you might need to write result dot users table, or maybe inside the 0 dot users table something like this. Okay, so that it will just return the exact value for us. Perfect. Now if I go back inside the inspect panel, if I refresh this screen, you will not see any error. But the most important thing, now this information will get saved to our state called user detail, and this user detail now we are sharing across our application because we are using this context provider. Okay, now later on in this particular course you will see how we are going to use this user detail context in order to get or fetch the data from the user detail. So you don't need to fetch this particular call this API endpoint every time. Only once, whenever this application get load, it automatically get called and save your information to your context. Now it's time to create an workspace screen where user can able to consult with the doctor. And on this workspace, obviously if user don't have any previous history, then we're gonna show an empty state and then button to connect with the doctor. On that button click, we are going to open a dialog or pop-up on which user can upload the basic information, and then it will start conversation. Also below that we can show the different AI doctors, and on the click of that one user can directly able to call to that AI voice agent, okay, as straight as it is. Now obviously in the previous chapter we already completed the authentication part, where we are able to successfully authenticate into our application, and now we want to redirect user to the workspace screen. Okay, that's where we need to get the user basic information so that user can connect with the doctor whenever he need. Okay, obviously this is just a wireframe that we build, but if you want to build your own wireframe with the help of AI, simply go to the uiuxmockup.com or click the link in the description. This uiuxmock.com will generate the UI/UX mockup instantly for you. Simply create a new account, it's free to use, and you have option to create a new design. I already have the workspace created, so if I open this one, this is the mockup I generated. This is just a wireframe actually. So you have different option to generate a mockup, like wireframe, basic mockup, or you can even generate the advanced mockup. You can select the mockup style, select the device type, enter your requirements, and simply click generate design, and then you will get this beautiful mockup for you. Obviously this is just a reference, you can take a reference of it and build your own UI. Over here you can even edit any of the field which you want, or you can see the live mode. Just open that and you can open in a new tab, it will get the live mode for you. Also, if you want to get the HTML tailwind CSS code, just click on it and then it will download the HTML code of this particular wireframe. How cool it is, right? So just visit uiuxmock.com, the link in the description, and then you will get free access to this application. Now let's head back to our application, and inside this app folder we are going to create a route, or we can call it as a routes only. So all the routes we are going to keep inside this routes folder, and inside this we're going to create workspace, or maybe we can say dashboard simply, and inside the dashboard we are going to add page.tsx file. Let's add a default template, and here I will rename this to workspace. Now to this workspace we also want a dedicated layout file. Okay, so inside the dashboard let's create a layout.tsx file, and we'll add a default template. Here we'll say dashboard layout. Now inside this layout we want to render the children similar like this root layout, so I will copy this and then we'll paste it here. Okay, because we need a type for these children, and then make sure to render these children something like this, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, just refresh this. Now this dashboard is only authenticated user can navigate to this dashboard screen. Right now if you see, just workspace text is showing on the screen. Okay, I think we gave the name workspace. I will just rename this to dashboard. Okay, perfect. Now next part, we want to add a header for our application. If you see, we have this dedicated header, so over here, and to this header we want to add some options as well. So inside the dashboard we'll create an underscore component folder, and all the component related to this dashboard we're gonna keep inside this underscore component folder. So in this case we'll say app header.tsx, add a default template, and then save it. This app header we are going to add inside the layout, because all the routes which come under the dashboard we want the header throughout the application. So that's the reason I'm going to add inside this layout file, and then go to this app header. Now if I go back, you will see it is rendering on the screen. Next, we want a logo on the left hand side, so you can add a placeholder for the logo. So you can just go to this logo pism. So logo pism is a logo placeholder, okay, and it contains SVG, so you can select the one which you like it. So there are a lot of different logo available, so you can select the one which you think it's best for you. So in my case, I will select this one. Let's select this one. It's very straightforward. And then go to your public folder. Inside this, we'll create a logo.svg file. Later on, you can update these guys, and then we'll simply paste this. Now once you have the logo.svg file, here inside this app header, we'll import this image tag, the source tag, and then simply add a file name like /logo.svg. Now Next.js will automatically understand that you are trying to access the assets from the public folder. Inside the alt tag, I will say logo, then give the width, let's say 120, and height, let's say 60, and then save it. Now if I go back, let me refresh, and if you see, the logo is showing on the screen. Let's give more height and width, so we'll make it bigger. Perfect. Next, after this, we also want to add some options, so I will define this option at the top. So here we'll say menu options, we'll say id 1, then name as home, path as /home, and I think that's all we need it for now. So I will copy paste this multiple times. So one is for home, one is for history, I will say, then billing, or we'll say pricing, and then profile. I will change this ID as well, and then save it. Now once you have the menu options, just display that. So we have to iterate this, right? So we'll simply say menu options dot map, and inside this we'll say option comma index and the arrow function. Inside this we'll add a div. Now obviously we are mapping each option one by one. Okay, so first one, this one, then this, and the index is nothing but the 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's a index value. Obviously you need to provide a key, okay, unique key. So for unique key, I'm providing key is equal to index, and inside the h2 tag you can display that. So we'll say option dot name, and then save it. Now if I go back, you will see this option, but we want in one line. So for this, maybe for this div, we'll make it flex gap of, let's say 3, and vertically I want everything in the center. So we'll say item to be in the center. See, now again we want these 3 option in the middle, right? And then on the right hand side, again we want a user profile icon. So after this we'll add a user button from the Clerk Next.js component, so that we'll get the user button as well. And now let's bring everything in one line. So for this div, the parent div, will add a class name, we'll make it flex, we'll make it item to be in the center, and then make it justify between. So say everything is evenly distributed. Now for this div, we'll also add some padding. So we'll add padding to 4, and then add a shadow little bit. Boom, how beautiful, right? Let's give some space between these options. So over here I will add some space. So maybe we can add more. Perfect. Now whenever the screen size is smaller, we don't want to show these options. So over here on the smaller screen, I will just hide it, and then on the medium we'll make it flex. Okay, so if I go to the inspect panel and change the screen size, see, it's gone. Okay, so that's what we want. Now whenever we hover on this one, we want to add some kind of animation. Okay, so maybe we can say class name, on hover we can make the font bold, and if you see, it's making the font bold. Also we'll make a cursor pointer, and then save it. Perfect. You can even add this transition all for a smooth animation. See, perfect. Now this is how our header is ready. Now for this header, depends on the screen size, you can add a padding. Right now we give padding X to 10, but when the screen size is medium, we'll give padding X to let's say 20. On large, we can give padding X to let's say 40, and for XL we can give padding X to let's say 60, something like this. So it will come in the middle of the screen. I think this is too much, so over here I will just keep the 40. Perfect. Okay, and if I decrease the screen size, as we are building the complete UI responsive, so we have to make sure to add the width and padding depends on the screen size. Okay, so that's how our header is now ready. Now next, after the header, we want to add this particular section where we gonna show a button to consult with the doctor, and empty state if user don't have any previous history. Okay, and once user have previous history, then we gonna show the list of previous history. On the click of that one, he can see the complete chart preview and the report as well. So let's go back to our application. I will close all of this tab, and under this component we'll create a new file and we'll say history, or maybe we can say workspace, or not workspace, history list.tsx. You can name it anything. Okay, and then add a default template. Once you add, go to the page.tsx, because this is our home page. Here I'm going to add this history list page. Now just about this history list, I want to add an h2 tag, and here we'll say my dashboard. Obviously I will wrap this in a div because I want it to show a button as well. So if I go back over here, if I refresh the screen, you will see this my dashboard. So let's add a class name. We'll make font bold, text to XL, and then save it. And then we also want to add a button, and inside this we'll say consult with doctor, and then save it. And that's how it look like. Obviously we want this in one line. Before that, we want to align everything to this header, right? On the left hand side we want to give padding and all. So we want to give padding to all the pages. So simply go to the layout, and then to this children, we're gonna add this children inside the div. And if I go to this app header, I will just copy this padding. Okay, so we have the padding X on 10, on medium screen we have padding X to 20, and large screen we have padding X to 40. Same thing I'm going to apply to this div, so it will automatically apply to all the children. See, then over here we also give padding Y to 10, so some space, and then we'll keep this button on the right hand side. So now we'll go back to our history list, oh sorry, not history list, inside the page.tsx, and for this div we'll say class name flex justify between, and make sure it's vertically it's center. So I will put the item to be in the center, and boom, say. Okay, then just below that one we want to show an empty state. So go to the history list, and inside the history list, first I will define a state. We'll say history list comma set history list is equal to use state, and initially it will be empty, so I give empty only. And whenever the history list is empty, so here we'll say if history list is empty is equal to or we can say 0 maybe, or yeah, let's say 0, then we're gonna show a div. Otherwise we'll show another div, and here we'll say list for now. Okay, and make sure to close it. So this need to be history length dot length. Okay, now inside the div, as this is an empty state, so I will add an image, then the source tag, and close the arrow. Over here, if you scroll down little bit, inside the public folder, I added this medical assistant image. I will share these assets with you. So I will just add it here, something like this. Here we'll say alt empty, and then for width we'll say 250, make it 200, and for height as well I will give 200. Let's save it and let's see how it looks on the screen. As we are using the use state for this component, we have to make this component on the client side. So I will mark this as a use client. Perfect. I think let's make it smaller, it's too big, so I will make this to 150, and then below that I'm gonna show some empty states. So if I go over here, you will see this text, no reset consumption. So I will add this, and then in p tag I will add this particular text. Now obviously this text you can add anything, but this text is generated, or this mockup is generated with the help of UIUXmock.com. So that's why I'm just copying and pasting here, and then save it. For this h2 we'll add a class name. We'll make font bold, text Excel, and for this div we'll make it class name, we'll make it flex, item to be in the center, make sure it is a flex column, and then justify in center as well. Also give gap to let's say 5. And now if I go back, this is how it will look like. Beautiful. Maybe you don't need to give gap to 5, better we can give margin top to 5 over here. And for this div we'll add a padding to let's say 7, and then we'll add a border, we'll say border dash, and we'll make rounded to 2XL. See, something like this. You can change the border, let's say border 2. So width of the border I will just make it little bit width is more width, and for this one let's give margin top. So for this div we'll add margin top to 10. Here I will just make it 2. Perfect. Now below that we also want to add a button. So over here we'll add a button component, and I will give the same name as this mockup. So we'll say start a consultation. So start a consultation, I think that's correct, right? Consultation, it need to be a consultation. Okay, and then save it. Over here I will add margin top to let's say 3, and if I go back, that's how beautiful it's look like. Okay, so this is the empty state. Obviously if user don't have anything, user can start the consultation by clicking on this button, or we have another button called consult with doctor. Anything will open or do the same, will do the same action. Now after this we want to show the list of all the doctor specialists. As per this mockup, this is how we want to show, where we're going to show the doctor image and their expertise with some description. So let's head back to our application, and I already added the list of doctor images. So if you see, if I open these images, you will see different images which I generated with the help of AI. Now you can also get these images, the assets, all the assets are free, so the link is in the description. Also I created one folder called share, and inside that I added this list.tsx file. Now it's very simple. Inside this list.tsx it has an ID, the specialist means doctor specialization, then the description, what about this doctor's specialization, the image, this image I'm importing from this public, and then agent prompt. Now this agent prompt is very important, because this agent prompt is different for each of these specialists. So obviously you will get this list.tsx files in the source code. Also I will make it available for free. Now simply go back to this dashboard underscore component, and inside this we'll add doctors agent list.tsx, add a default template, and then make sure to import this inside this page.tsx file. So after this history list, will add doctors agent list. Now simply go to this doctor agent list, and over here first I will add a class name, margin top to let's say 10. Then over here we'll add an s2 tag, and just for my reference I'm going to use this. So over here I have this simply text AI specialist doctor agent. Then for this s2 tag we'll add a class name, we'll make font bold, text Excel. If I head back to our application, I will just refresh the screen, then you will see a brand new option called AI Specialist Doctor Agent. Now simply whatever the list we have or we are created inside this list.tsx, we need to show it on the screen. Here I will just make sure I will give some name to this list. So here we'll say export constant AI doctor agents is equal to, okay. Once you export it and once you give name to this particular object list so that you can use it, so over here I will add a div. Inside this div we'll use this AI doctor agents. Make sure to import this from the shared list. Then we'll say map because we want to display that, so we'll say doctor comma index and the arrow function. Inside this we'll simply add a div, and to this div we provide a key as the index. Now we are iterating each of this doctor and just we want to display it on the screen. Now you have two options, either you can write a code to display that or we can create a separate component for it. So here we'll say doctor agent card dot tsx. Let's add a default template and then save it. Now over here we'll simply add that doctor agent card, something like this, and then save it. Now pass the doctor agent card, something like this. So this doctor I'm passing to this agent card and I will accept over here, okay. Now I will create a type doctor agent is equal to, and inside this we want to add some field. So first is the ID field, so which is of type number. Then we also want to add a specialist description. Because we are using a TypeScript, we need to add the type for each of the field which we are defining, okay. And then we have this agent prompt with the type string, and this doctor agent I'm going to pass over here, maybe something like this, and then save it. Now over here maybe we need to define the type. If I define any, I don't think so this error is gone. Okay, so over here one more change we need to do. So I will just add a type props, and inside this we'll add a doctor agent as doctor agent, and then we can do something like this. Oops. So this need to be, we can call it as a doctor agent, and I will accept the doctor agent only because that's what we saved over here, okay. And over here if you see we are showing all the doctor agent. Obviously currently it's just showing this text. Now once you add that, we need to display the proper card. So we'll add an image tag, then the source tag I am from the doctor agent dot image tag. For alt I will add a doctor agent dot, let's say ID, or not ID because we want to show the name, so I will add a specialist. Then we'll add a width as let's say 200 for now, and then height of 300, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, you will see all the doctor list. Now we want this doctor list in the form of grid, so simply we'll add a class name, we'll make it grid, and we'll make grid column 2 when the screen size is smaller. On the medium screen size we'll give grid column 3, on large we'll give grid column 4, and on Excel we'll give grid column 5. Also we'll give gap of 5, and now if you see it will display in, okay, so I think we missed something. So obviously this particular grid we wanted to show not in the card, but we wanted to add inside the agent list just before this mapping, because we want to apply it to all the grids, right? Sorry, all the cards. So that's the reason. Now simply paste it inside this agent list, and then boom, we have in a grid format. But still this image is not in a the height is not specified and everything, right? So let's fix that too. So inside this card I will add a class name. I will make it width full, but I will make height to, let's say, 250 pixel, and we'll also make object cover, and boom, see, now all these images in proper height and some width, and it's not none of the images are small and larger. Okay, so that also we fix it. Also for this class name I will make a rounded corner, so make rounded to XL, and for this agent list we'll give some margin top to, let's say, 5, so some space. Okay, next for each of these we wanted to add specialization text. So inside this agent card I will add an h2 tag, and inside this we'll say doctor agent dot specialist. Then in p tag we'll add a description, and for this description I will make sure I will just want it to show maximum 2 lines. Okay, also we'll give margin top to 1. For this h2 tag we'll add a font bold, text larger. Perfect. Over here I will make text smaller and text of gray 500. Here I will make this text as it is, but just I will make this font bold. Okay, even though if you did not give margin top, let's see how it looks. I think this is pretty good. Okay, next we'll add a button, and it will say consult, or we can add something like, let's see the button what it's saying. So it's saying a view profile, so instead of that one we'll say consult. We'll add a text called start consultation. Here I will add a width to be full, margin top to, let's say, 2, and then save it. Perfect. Now obviously we can bring this all the text in a center, and I feel if I gave the width to be we can give some more gap. I think that's much better. Here we can add arrow right. That's a new icon get added, that's interesting. And if you see, we have this icon, so once user click on it, it will automatically start the conversation immediately. So that's how you need to display it, and most important thing is completely responsive, and let me show you how. So if I decrease the size, see how beautifully it's changing it. Okay, so that's how we make this application also responsive. Now next step is quite interesting, because in the next step we're gonna start implementing the actual voice AI agent. Now when user click on the start a consultation or consult with the doctor, we want to open a dialog in order to get a user information, like whatever the symptoms user have, user can enter in the text area or any additional detail. And depends on the symptoms or any additional detail, we are going to suggest, or our AI model going to suggest the best specialist. Now we have the list of all the specialist doctor, and from that one it's gonna suggest it, and then once user click on choose doctor specialist, then actual conversation will get start. So let's go back to our application, and on the click of that button we want to add a dialog component. So from the chat scene I'm going to use the dialog component. So make sure to select this dialog, and you can see how it looks. So on the click we want to open a dialog. Simply first thing first, we need to install this dialog component into our application. So inside the terminal I will paste this dialog installation command, then copy this import statement, and then go to this underscore component folder. Inside this, we'll create a new folder called add new session, I will say .tsx, and here we'll say dialog. Okay, then add a default template, and inside this obviously we want to add dialog, so I will paste this import statement. Then we want to use the dialog component, so I will copy that dialog component and simply I'm gonna paste it here. Right now I think everything is done. I will just save this one, and if you see, the dialog component is get added. Next thing, we want to open this dialog on the click of our button. Okay, so this is our button, and on the click we want to open it. Now either you can directly add that button over here. So if I go to the history list where we have this button, right? So I will cut this button from here and I will simply paste it here. Make sure to import this button, and instead of this button, now I can directly import this add new session dialog component. So if I go back, I will just refresh the screen once, and here everything is as it is, but if I click on this one, see, the dialog get open. Okay, so that's what we wanted. Same thing you can do it. So I will copy this component, and inside our page.tsx where we have this button consult with the doctor. Obviously the text might be different, so it's up to you if you want to pass the text. Now in this case, if you see, the both the button are same and it acts in the same way. Now inside add new session dialog, here we'll add basic details, and inside the description I will add a div. Now if you add a div, for the description you have to mark it as a child. Okay, and inside the div we'll add a h2 tag. We'll say add symptoms or any other details. And we want to add a text area, so you can get the text area component from the chat. So if you scroll down, you will see this text area component. First I will copy this npm command so that we can install that, and then once it is installed, you can use this text area component. Here we say type or add detail here. Perfect. Now if I go back to our application, and this is how it will look like. Now you can provide much more, you can provide more height to this. So here we'll say height to, let's say, 250 pixel. I think that's too much. Let's make it 200. And also I'm going to add margin top to 1. Now to this div I'm also going to add a dialog footer. So here we'll say dialog footer component, because we want to add two important button. One to cancel it, so here we'll say cancel, and other button we'll say start, and then save it. For this cancel button, the variant will be outline, and for start is as it is. See, so we have cancel button and then we have start button. Now on the click of cancel, you can even close this dialog. So here we say dialog close component, and wrap your button inside this dialog close. So on the click, now it will close this dialog. See, obviously on the cross as well you can close it. Now on the start, obviously once user click on the start, we want to send the user symptoms and all the basic details to the AI model, and it will give you this or suggest some doctors from this particular list. Instead of start, here I will say next, because, and I will add arrow right, because I also want to go to the next section where we wanted to show the list of all the suggested doctors. Okay, now over here, if I save this one and go back to our application, and on the click of the start consultation, you will see this next button. Now this next button only enable once user enters some text data inside this text area. So over here I will define a constant. We'll say note comma set note is equal to use state. Now this is very important to add some symptoms of some node, because depends on that one our AI model will suggest some doctors. Okay, now this node is of type string, and then on this text area on change method we are going to accept the user's input. So here we'll say set node, and then whenever user click on some changes it will emit the event. So we'll say event dot target dot value. Okay, and that's what we are saving inside the node. Also make sure to mark this component on the client side because we are using the React hook. Okay, and now if I go back over here, if you see, obviously nothing changes on the UI side, but make sure the button is disabled. Okay, so here we will say disable if the node is not there. See, now as soon as I enter, this button is enabled, and now on the click of next it will start or obviously we want to send and make a call to the AI LLM model with these nodes in order to get the suggested doctors. And once user select the doctors, then we wanted to save all the data into our database. Now it's time to implement the conversation page, as we are saving all the information which user enter in order to start the conversation with the doctors or medical voice agent. And that's where we are going to create a new page, and on that page we are going to show the doctor image at the top, or who we are talking with. That image gonna show at the top. Then the last message and the latest message we are going to show in a real time. Yes, so in real time, as soon as assistant speak or user speak, we gonna display that message on the screen. And obviously we have button to start a call or end the conversation. And once the conversation end, then we gonna generate a report as well. So this is the complete workflow for the conversation screen. So let's go back to our application, and inside this we're gonna create a new route. Now we want to create a dynamic route because we are saving the session ID, right? So if I go to our database, and if you see we have this session ID, and depends on the session ID we are going to fetch the record, and then we'll get to know what is the user's input and which doctor is selected along with all the information. So we'll create a dynamic route. So under this routes we're gonna create, maybe under the dashboard we'll create a new route, and we can call it as a conversation, or we'll say medical agent, and inside this we'll create a page.tsx file. Let's add a default template and we'll rename this to medical voice agent, and then save it. But as once we created this route, this is just a simple route. So if I go to the /dashboard/medical agent, it will open this page. But we want the route which is dynamic so that we can pass this session ID. So in order to do that, here inside the medical agent, we'll create session ID, and we give the folder name start with the square brackets. So it means you can put any session ID value over here. And then I will now move this page.tsx to this under the session ID, something like this. Okay, now if I go back to our application and then go to the dashboard/medical agent/ and add any ID and then click enter, then you will see you still jump onto this medical voice agent, but the ID, whichever ID you put, it will still show same page. But depends on this session ID, we wanted to fetch the record from the database. So first thing first, let's use the session ID in order to fetch a record. Now in order to get this session ID, whichever session ID is passed here, make sure to give the same name. Here we'll say use params, and that's how you will get the session ID. And let me print this session ID here so that you will get to know. As we are using the React hook, or maybe any hook. In this case is next/navigation hook. You need to mark this component on the client side, and if you see whichever session ID you pass, it's printing on the screen. So now here we're gonna write a method. We'll say constant get agent or session info, session details, and the arrow function. And inside that we need to call an API endpoint. So inside the API, under this session chart, we already have the post request. Now we'll write a get request. So here we say export async function. Here this will be a get request and the type is next request. Now obviously we need to fetch the data from the parameters. So we say constant search params is equal to new URL, and then we'll say request dot URL. And once you define this search param, you can get the value. So in this case we want to get a session ID, so we say session ID is equal to search param dot get, and then the parameter name which we are going to add as a session ID. Okay, then under this we'll also get the user information, so that you can get it from the current user. Now make sure to import this current user from the Clerk Next.js. After this we'll write constant result is equal to await db, because we want to fetch dot select from, and the table name is session chart table, and then the where clause. Inside this we'll add a equal to, we'll say session chart table dot session ID, which matches with our session ID, and that record we wanted to fetch. Now sometimes for the equal you might get warning inside the TypeScript, so I will just ignore that, and then in return I will say next response dot JSON and then result of 0, because you will get only the first element, and then save it. So this is how simple it is for the get API call in order to get the session information for that particular record. Now obviously you can add the user condition, because you can pass the user email so that it will verify that you are only fetching that particular user's record. Then inside the page.tsx file we'll simply say constant result is equal to await axios dot get slash API slash session chart, and then the session ID I'm going to pass. Now in this case we have the session ID already defined. As we are using await, I will make this as async, and then inside the console.log I will print the result.data. Now this method we need to call whenever this component get load. Okay, and make sure whenever the session ID is available, then only we wanted to call. So I make sure that we are executing this use effect whenever the session ID is available. Now let's save it. I will go back to our application. Also just for the testing, not testing, but here if you remember inside the add new session dialog, right, we wanted to route it once it is successful, right? So here we already put a comment on that. So in order to route it, first you need to add a router using this use router hook. Make sure you will import this use router from the next/navigation, and then you will say router dot push, and then API endpoint will say, not API endpoint, sorry, the route. So this will be inside the dashboard slash medical agent slash the ID. Okay, now in this case the ID you will get it from this result.data.session ID. So that one I'm going to pass, and that's all. So save it. Now once you save, we'll test this out and we'll verify that we are jumping to this correct screen. Okay, so I will add a start new consultation. Here we'll say I have some body pain. Obviously you can write a long description as well, and we'll say next. And once you say next, it will give you some details. Right now we have an error and it's saying the selected doctor.id is not defined or something like that. Yeah, so that's because let's go to this suggested doctor card. I will make this an optional operator optional field, because sometimes you might not get data immediately, right? So it's better you can add this optional operator field, and let's try it now. And boom, now it's perfect. And now you have option to select any of these. I will select this general physician, and then I will say start conversation, and boom, if you see, we have this session id, and then it's jump to this particular page and printing out this session id. Now if I go back to our database, I will just refresh this record, and here we have this record. Okay, now not only that, but if I go to the inspect panel, go to the console, you will see that record. See, okay, so that's how you need to get the information. Now once you have this session details, right, let's save in one state. So I will close this, and we'll define a state called constant session detail, set session detail is equal to use state. Now obviously we'll define a type for this one. So if you see, these are some parameter is showing. So over here we say type session detail, and inside that we'll say id of type number, then notes of type string, then we have report session id, the report will be in the form of JSON. So then we also have this selected doctor. Okay, so that also we need it. Then created on of type string. Now selected doctor is of type JSON, and for that one again we have this other field. So I think it's a medical agent, we name it at some place, I forgot the type. So doctor agent, sorry, so that doctor agent, make sure to import that and then save it. Now this session detail, because that is the type of this particular session detail state, and over here we'll set the session detail with the result dot data. Okay, and then save it. Now we have some basic information, okay, and session detail information. So if I go to this mockup, if you see, we have this doctor image, and then we have the two text, the latest text. Obviously you can show more over here, okay, but I'm going to add some animation kind of thing over here. So I just showing the two text, and then option to cut the call or start the call as well. So let's implement that. Now obviously at the top I'm going to show some data. So over here I will add a div. Inside this div I will add a h2 tag, and we'll add a circle. I don't know whether that icon is there or not, and here we'll say not connected. Obviously this string or this particular text I'm going to change later on, and then at the right I'm going to show a time when it started. For this h2 tag I will add a class name, we'll add a padding to 1, padding x to 2, we'll add a border rounded to medium, and then save it. Here I will make it flex, gap of 2, item to be in the center, and let's add a flex, justify between, and item to be in the center. Okay, so if you see, this is how it will look like. Over here I will add a font bold, text Excel, and then I will make this text gray 400, so a little lighter. something like this. Okay, uh, over here this circle icon is too big, so I give width and height. Perfect. Now in the center we want to show the user image, so we'll add a div. Inside this we want to add image tag, the source tag, and obviously we have that information, so we'll say session detail dot selected doctor dot image. Then inside the alt tag, again I will add session detail dot selected doctor dot you can add the id, not id, specialized. Okay, otherwise empty string, and then in width I will say 80, height 80. As we are getting this error because it's saying that session detail might be empty, so you can add a condition if session detail and the condition, and then save it. And right now if you see, it's showing the doctor image. Now we want that in the center of the screen. Also I will make this height to, let's say, 100 pixel and width to 100 pixel. So over here I will just make this 120 because this image tag and width height is very important for the optimization purpose. Now over here I will say object cover, and for this div I will make sure everything in the center of the screen. Make sure is flex column, and then give height, margin top to, let's say, 10. Now for this image I will make rounded full. Perfect. Okay, and you can add the name or specialization. So over here I will say session detail dot selected doctor dot specialist. So we'll add some styling, margin top to 1, text larger, and then save it. And in p tag I will say AI medical voice agent. After this we want to add two text over here, so maybe I will add a div, and inside this div we'll add an h2 tag. Here we'll say consider assistant message. Okay, this is just a dummy text I am adding right now, and the another text will say, for example, user message. Now obviously the top message I'm going to add a gray color, little lighter, and then save it. And we want, so we'll add a margin top to, let's say, 32. Perfect, something like this. See, so one is darker and one is lighter. Maybe we can make this text larger, and I will keep as it is for now. Later on if you want we can change this. And then we want to add a button. Here we'll say start call, and here I will add a call button. Something like this. See, and also here I give some margin top. Right now it looks so simple, but once you start the conversation, obviously we'll add some more styling to this one, but for now we'll keep as it is. Also we can wrap this div. We'll add a padding 10 and we'll add a border, then we'll make rounded corner to 3xl, something like this. Okay, I think this is much better. Here I can make this to 5 only. Perfect. And if you want, you can also make a text, not text, the background secondary. Perfect. So our UI is now ready. Okay, now the next step is we need to set up a voice agent. Obviously, we need to use a WAPI, the assembly AI, in order to bring our agent in live mode. That's what we are going to say in the next chapter. Now it's time to integrate a voice agent. If you see on this workflow, in order to make the any AI voice agent, you have to make sure whatever the user speak, we need to convert that speech into a text. Then we need to pass that text to the LLM model with the help of our own medical agent prompt, which will process our request, and then we will get a text from the LLM model, and that text we need to convert back into the speech so that user can listen. And that's how the voice agent works. Along with that one, we want to show the text in a live streaming mode. As soon as agent or assistant speak or AI model speak or user speak, we want to display that on the screen, whatever user speak or assistant speak. And that's where this speech to text live streaming is very important, which will give you the real feel of conversation, and it's a both way. Okay, now for this particular part, to make a converting speech to text, pass that text to the LLM model, and then generate text to speech again, we are going to use a WAPI AI. WAPI AI is the agent builder which help us to create such kind of agent, and that's what we are going to see next. And in order to display the text and do the streaming on the screen, we are going to use an assembly AI. Now, assembly AI, one of the powerful speech to text AI model. It provides a lot of different features and is free to start. Also, is one of the fastest AI model to convert your speech to a text. Recently, they also providing you the streaming to speech to text model, where you can easily stream your speech to a text in a live mode. Also, the latency is very low, just 300 millisecond, and accuracy is more than 91%. Also, is one of the best cost effective. So if you see the cost is just 0.15 per hour, is no one matching their pricing at all in the market right now. As I told you, is one of the best fastest transcription provider. And if you see the comparison between the DeepGram and the assembly AI, you will find the result. And in a moment, we will see how it might or it affect your development as well. If you see this assembly AI universal streaming, how efficient it is, how accurate it is, and there are a lot of things, a lot of factor affecting to your application. Okay, now obviously it is available to a LiveKit, WAPI, PipeCat, and many other agent service provider. But right now in this tutorial we are going to use assembly AI. So first thing first, simply go to the wapi.ai. I will put the link in the description. Also, I will put the assembly AI link in the description. You can go ahead and visit that. Then simply create a new account. Now you might have a question whether it's free or not. So yes, it is free. So you can make, I think, 1000 minutes of call for free. Okay, then simply go to the dashboard. On the dashboard you will see some of the metrics like how many calls you made, average duration, what is the total cost, and everything. You can see the call success and all. On the left hand side you can find the credits, you can test the agent, you can get the phone number, create an assistant, and many other feature you will find with the WAPI. Now I don't want to go in the deep, but let's go to this assistants, and here we are going to create our own new assistant. So simply click on this create assistant. Now inside this we are giving the assistant name. Now for the testing purpose, now I am going to use our general physician assistant. So I will copy this name over here, and we can say blank template. Okay, and simply click create assistant. Now once the assistant is created, you will see this cost. Okay, how much it cost per minute, and then latency as well. Okay, and these are very important. Now these colors show that this is a WAPI fixed cost, then this color is a dipgram they are using, the model and the WAPI for text to speech model. Okay, but the most interesting thing, you can change this one. Now for example, obviously we want to use a fastest speech to text provider for the streaming purpose, and for that one if I go to the transcriber, I'm going to change this from dipgram to AssemblyAI because it's very fast and very cheap. You can select the language whichever you want, and there are more setting about this one, and simply click publish. Once you click publish, over here now it changed to AssemblyAI with this particular pricing. Okay, how cool. Not only that, but you can even change this AI model provider. Let's say you want to select the Google, and for the Google you can select the other model as well. For example, let's select this 2.0 flash. I will say publish, and then now it changed from 009 to 008 per minute. Perfect, right? So that's how you can make the change in your model, and with this WAPI it's everything is included, so you don't need to add any API key over here. So it's inbuilt all this model, so that's very easy for us. Next thing, you can change this message prompt how they want, who will talk first, then what will be the first message. So for this one I added this first message, and for the system prompt I'm going to use our agent prompt. Okay, so it's quite simple, so we'll paste it here, and you also have some more options. Okay, obviously if you see the voice configuration, you can change this one too, but for now I'll keep as it is. The transcriber I am going to keep this AssemblyAI only, and for other setting I will keep it as default one. Now simply click publish, and now your assistant is live. Okay, now even you can test this assistant as well. So here you have option to test this assistant, but now we want to integrate this assistant into directly in our application. Now once the assistant is ready, click the link in the description and then jump onto the documentation side. Here you will find all the details how this voice agent works, that what I just explained to you. Okay, and then we want to integrate in a web, so I will click web integration. Then if you scroll down, you have two options. You can do on the client side or you can do on server side. If you are new and to this voice agent, I will definitely suggest you to go with this client side voice interfaces. Okay, so in this course we'll go through this client side, but it's completely free to check out this server side call management as well. Now the next step is to install the WAPI into your application. So simply copy this command, go back to your application. I will close all of this tab for now, and simply paste this command. Okay, next you need to initialize this WAPI where you want to use it. Okay, so I will copy this, and then we'll go back to our session medical agent.page.tsx, and at the top I will just initialize this WAPI. Okay, now make sure to import this WAPI. So I don't think so I'm getting import statement, so I will copy this import statement and make sure it's installed successfully. See, I just imported this WAPI as well, and here you need to provide a voice assistant ID. Okay, now we need to get public API key and voice assistant ID. So if I go back to our dashboard, here at the top you will see this voice assistant ID. Just copy that one, go to the .env file, and here I will say WAPI voice assistant ID, and then paste this ID. Now make sure as you are using this environment variable on the client side, so I will mark it as a public, next_public. Okay, and in order to get an API key, scroll down and here you will find an option called API log. Okay, so it's not in API log. Okay, so over here there we have an option called WAPI API key, and if you are using the server side you have to use private key. If you are using client side, make sure to use the public key. Let's copy this key and then simply we'll say next_public WAPI API key, and simply paste this key. Once you paste it, I'm gonna use this over here. So here we'll say process.env.next. Just copy that API key, and then over here as well we want to use assistant ID. Okay, as simple as that. Now obviously we want to start a WAPI only when the start button is called. So over here I will write a method called constant start call, and then we'll call this WAPI start. Let's go back to the documentation again, and here these are some event when the call is started, when the call is ended, and all of this information. These are very important in order to update the status on the UI side. So I will paste that too over here and then save it. Now I will define some states over here to make sure the call is started or call is ended. Okay, everything. So here we'll say constant, we'll say call started, comma set call started is equal to use state, and a value will be false initially. Now when the call is started, I will just wrap this in a curly braces. We also console that, but I will change this call started to true, and whenever the call is ended, I will change this the call started to false. Okay, so which will help us to keep a track whether call started or not. And as soon as user starts speaking, you will see the who talk it. So message.role will give you whether it's an assistant or it's a user, and the message.transcript will give you the actual streaming. Okay, so text streaming. So that is also very important for us. Now this start call we need to call on the click of this button. Now whenever the call is started or when call is not started, it means we need to show a start call button. So over here we'll say call started. If call not started, obviously we want to show, then we want to show this button, otherwise we'll show another button, and here we'll say cut call, or we say disconnect, maybe that's a good word, and here I will say phone call. I don't know whether call cancel, I don't know what is the icon. So I will just go to this lucid icon, we'll find icon. So we'll use this one, phone off. So we'll say phone off. Okay, and for this button I will put a variant as destructive, and I think I gave the wrong curly braces, so we need to give the curly braces here, oh here as well, and save it. If I go back over here, we have start call, and on the click of this it will start the call. Now also make sure once the call is started, it's saying connect, it should say connected. Okay, so over here we'll just change the text, and that's why this callback from the WAPI is very important. So if your call is started, we'll say connected, otherwise we'll say not connected. You can even change this color. Okay, so maybe I will add some dynamic styling. If call is started, we'll add a background green, otherwise I will add background red, and here I will make rounded to full, and then save it. And if you see, this is how it's looking. Okay, now I will go to the inspect panel, go to the console, and we'll verify the output. Now I will click on the start call, and obviously it asking me whether you want to allow or not, so we'll say allow while visiting this site.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
Hey, my name is Tube Guruji and my age is 28.
Hello, Tube Guruji. It's nice to meet you. How are you feeling today? Is there anything specific I can help you with? Please tell me a bit about.
Yeah, I have some headache.
I understand. Headaches can be really bothersome. When did your headache start? Where do you feel the pain the most? Can you describe the pain? Is it throbbing?
And that's how cool it is, right? It started asking as a real doctor. Not only that, but if you see these buttons, you change obviously this icon get changed and everything. Okay, now obviously we did not added a logic to disconnect the call. Right now we have the start call, we have end call, but we have to make sure we should add a call disconnect option. So if you go over here and I will select this React TypeScript, just scroll down little bit and here you might find an option to disconnect the call, and that's where this WAPI stop method will call. Okay, so I will just copy this one, and WAPI provide a complete guide for you. Okay, so I will add that too, and I think that's good. So on the disconnect, we're gonna call this method. Perfect. Now most important thing, if you see whatever we ask, whatever the prompt we gave, it's behaving like that, and that's what we wanted. Let's try one more time and we'll check whether we can disconnect the call or not.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
Now right now it's not disconnecting the call because at every instance it connecting to this WAPI. So better we can remove it from here and let's put it inside this start call. Okay, then we'll create a WAPI instance. So here we'll say WAPI instance comma set WAPI instance is equal to use state, and then over here we'll set the WAPI instance as WAPI. Then over here let's give a type any, and then we'll use a WAPI instance to stop the call. Now along with that one, you need to add and check inside the end call whether this WAPI instance is available or not. If it's not available, then simply return empty. Then you will stop the WAPI instance, and then also make sure to clear off the call start, call end and message callback from this WAPI instance. Then we are going to set this call started to false, and then at the last we will set the WAPI instance to null. Setting the WAPI instance to null is very important, so make sure don't forget to update that value and then save it, and let's test this out. Now I am going to connect this call, so we'll say start call.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
And then after disconnecting, it disconnecting the call. Perfect, right? And not only that, but everywhere it's getting updated. So that's how our agent is ready. Now the next step, if we want to show a speech to text streaming on the screen. So here we want to show assistant message, the user message, whichever is the latest one, it's gonna show at first and then second. So like that. Now after implementing the AI voice agent, it's time to display the streaming speech to text on the screen. And for that one, as you know that we are using an assembly. But with the WAPI, it's already integrated, so they have collaboration with the WAPI and the AssemblyAI. So you don't need to manually do it through the AssemblyAI. Now simply go back to your application, and very first thing that we need to do, we need to add few more callbacks. So over here, if I go to the WAPI documentation, you will also find that. So under this voice widget implementation, you will find more option like when the speech started, when the speech ended. So I will use that features as well. Okay, now it simply enable or trigger it whenever the assistant starts speaking and when assistant stop speaking. So over here I will go back at the top and will define constant current role comma set current role is equal to use state, and it is of type string. Now whenever the user's assistant speak, we are going to set the current role to assistant. Otherwise when the speech end, it means now user gonna talk, so we'll set current role to user. Okay, as simple as that. Now in order to get a live message, so here we have the message type transcript, right? Now inside this I'm going to get all the fields from the message, so we'll destructure it. So inside the message we have the role, then we have the transcript type, and then we have the transcript, and that everything we're going to get it from the message. Okay, so this obviously this particular object is going to return whenever we have text, speech to text available. Now once we have this message information, I'm going to define a live transcribe, so we'll say constant live transcript comma set live transcript is equal to use state, it is of type string, like this, and then we are going to simply set the live transcript with the transcript. Okay, and then we can also set the current role to the role which we have, okay, whether it's a user or assistant, because that also return us the role as well. Now let's save it, and obviously we're gonna add one more condition. If transcript type is equal to partial, because this transcript type will return two value, one is a partial and one is a final. Now final will give you the complete output. Okay, now here I will write something like this, else it will give the final transcript. That we'll see in a moment how to save it, but first we'll check whether we are displaying the or we'll display the live transcript. Okay, so over here at second place I want to display a live transcript, and then we are also going to show the current role, okay, something like this, and let's save it. Now if I go back to our application, right now obviously it's saying just colon, we'll fix that, but if I start the call, we'll see. So right now it look like,
thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
so that's how we are getting the live transcript. Okay, now obviously we need to save the final transcript, and obviously we want to save it inside the object list so that we can show it the all previous messages which contain the complete message, not just a current live streaming. So over here I'm going to define a messages comma set messages is equal to use state. Okay, and then we need to define a type as well, so we'll going to define a type. So here we'll say type message is equal to, and inside this we'll say role of type string, and then text is of type string, and then messages type I'm going to define over here, and it is a list, so I'm providing an empty array, something like this, and save it. Now whenever we have the final script, we're gonna save that one, and here also we can add a condition, if else if transcript type is equal to final, okay, then only we wanted to show. So here we'll set the messages. Now we have to make sure we want to keep this previous messages as well as the current messages, so we'll say previous messages, then we'll add dot dot dot, keep all the previous messages, and then add the new value. Okay, so here we'll say text is equal to transcript, as simple as that. Now here you can define a messages type as messages. Let's define any for now and then save it. Now after this we have to set the live transcript to empty, and then we'll set the current role to null, because that's where it will stop it, right? So okay, so it's not taking null because we want just a string. So over here for the current role I will also accept the null value and then save it. Now at the bottom, make sure whenever we have the live transcript, then only show this text. So I can make a length, if length is greater than 0, then only we want it to show a live transcript. Okay. Okay, so he's saying live transcript length is possible. Okay, let's add a condition and then save it. Now next we wanted to show a message list at the top. So over here I will just keep this h2 for now, and then we'll define messages. So we'll say messages dot map the message comma index and the arrow function. Inside this we're gonna define a div, and then we'll define this h2 tag, something like this. Okay, now obviously we want to replace this all our messages from this messages list, and just define a type as messages. So here we'll get messages dot text. Obviously I'm also gonna define the messages dot role, something like this. Then for this div you can provide the key as a, okay, even though we don't need this div, so I will just remove that. And for this div we can add a maximum height. So here we'll say maximum, or let's make it overflow y auto, and we'll see how it looks first. Okay, and then I forgot to add a key as an index, and then save it. So obviously we need to make some modification, but for now let's test this out. So I will start the call.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
So here we have an error called previous is not iterable. Okay, that's because if I go to these messages, and currently the messages is not, and it's not showing as iterable because we need to provide an empty value when the messages is not there. Okay, and let's try this out now.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
Hey, my name is Rahul and my age is 28.
Hello, Rahul. I'm here to assist you today. How are you feeling?
And how cool it is. If you see, we have all the messages and the latest message at the bottom, right? And that's what we really wanted. Obviously, you can give some styling to this h2 tag, but most important, we don't want to show all the messages. We just wanted to show few messages only. But before that, here I'm gonna add some padding. Okay, so it will show more in a decent way, I can say. Now another important point over here, we only wanted to show last 3 to 4 messages and not all the messages, but obviously we want to keep everything inside the messages, but while displaying we want to show only few. So we'll just slice this and we'll say -4, so last 4 messages, okay, from the messages. And if I save this one, let's test this out. So I will start the call and we'll verify.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
Hey, I am Tube Guruji and my age is 28.
Hello, Tim. I'm glad you reached out. How are you feeling today? Is there anything specific on your mind that you'd like to discuss? I'm here to listen and help in any way I can.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Tim. That's good to hear.
And that's what we wanted. It's showing only last 4 messages. But again, here is the problem. Obviously, currently it's going out of our UI thing because we want everything in the center of the screen, and it's going on the left because the assistant speak a complete big message. So in order to fix this, first what I will do, I will just keep this div and then we'll give a padding left and right. Let's add a left and we'll say 40 pixel or maybe 80 pixel, and padding right as well, so 80 pixel. Okay, because we want kind of in the center, and that's the reason we need to give the padding. Okay, also if possible, let's try to add flex. Here we'll say flex direction as column, and these are some of the option I applied. If you see, I make the flex direction column, align item in the center as well. If I make the justify content in the center instead of align item, it doesn't affect anything, but I think this is the good way that we can display on the screen. Okay, instead of on the left align, because everything is in the center of the screen. So for this one, I will make flex column item to be in the center. Okay, and obviously when the screen size is medium, or let's make padding X to 10, but when the screen size is medium, we'll give padding X to 28. On large screen, we can give padding X to 52, and extra large, you can give padding X to let's 72. And I think this time is more perfect way.
Hello, thank you for connecting. Can you please tell me full name and age?
Hey, I'm Rahul and my age is 28.
Hi, Rahul. That's quite a unique age. Let's clarify. Are you 20 or 28?
It's
Knowing your...
It's 28.
Thanks for clarifying, Rahul. So you're 28. How are you feeling today? Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about, or any symptoms you're experiencing? I'm here to listen and help in any way I can.
Actually, I have some headaches, so I don't know what to do.
I understand. Headaches can be really disruptive. First, can you describe...
And how beautiful it's showing, right? Now, if you think the padding is more, you can margin from the top is more, you can just remove that, because I feel it's little large, so I just remove that one, and now from here it will show your message list as well. Okay, so that's how guys you need to display a live streaming with the help of Assembly universal streaming feature. Okay, which is one of the best, which I told you, as this is the universal streaming provided by AssemblyAI, the most important, very cheap in the market, and the latency is the minimest. No one can have below this 300 millisecond latency. That's what AssemblyAI's universal streaming provide you, and that's the reason I use the best product in our SaaS application. Currently, our voice agent is only enable the single or act as a single voice agent, because we provided this voice assistant ID, which is driving from the WAPI dashboard. Because inside the WAPI, we simply created one voice agent with all the settings, and we also provided that single prompt. So if I go to this assistant and the general physician, that's where we provided this prompt, and which act everything for us, right? But that's not what we want, because inside our application we have a different kind of agents, right? For the let me go to the dashboard. So over here we'll go to the dashboard, and if you see, we have general physician, pediatrician, psychologist, nutritionist, and many others. Each agent has their own unique identification, right? And we need to make sure, depends on the user selection, or even though from the start consultation we are getting a suggestion, whenever user select any of the agent, whether it's a male or female, we need to make sure we're going to provide a specific prompt to the agent, so that it will act accordingly and it will give you the response accordingly. But with the WAPI assistant ID, it's not helpful for us. So the question is, how can we modify this? And it's very easy. Okay, now obviously we don't need to provide this assistant ID over here. Rather, we're gonna create a configuration, and that configuration is different for every time. But the easiest way to do this is to add a WAPI configuration. That's what we are going to see next. But before that, for each of these agent, we wanted to add a unique voice ID. Okay, now in order to generate this voice ID, you can simply go to the WAPI dashboard, and inside the WAPI dashboard, if you scroll down little bit, over here we have the voice configuration, and currently the default provider is WAPI. But over here you can change, for example, let's say Play HT. Now Play HT has the different voice, and the name, if you see, these are the name they provided. Now you can take any names and you can add to the to your each of these agent. Okay, so for example, in this case, let's say I will add the, let's add Chris. Okay, so for this, because this is a male, so I will add it as a Chris. Okay, for this pedestrian, if you see, if I go back to our application, this pedestrian is again a male, so you can add some different voice ID for that. So for example, from here I will select this Oliver, so let's say Oliver, and so on. Okay, obviously I'm going to share this link with you, this file with you, so that you can verify. So in meantime, I will just add for all other. Here I added for the remaining one. Okay, so make sure to add that from your side as well. And now go to the page.tsx file, and inside here we're going to create a configuration. So we'll say constant WAPI agent config, and then arrow function. Now inside here you can provide a name, so I will say AI voice or medical voice agent, doctor voice agent. Okay, then you can provide your own first message as well. So over here you can provide own message, so I'm just going to copy this one. Okay, then you need to provide a transcriber. Now inside the transcriber you need to provide a provider, and in this case the provider will be AssemblyAI. So this is very important. Make sure not misspell any text, and then you need to provide a language, and language will be the English. After this you need to provide a voice. Now for the voice you can take any provider. So if I go to this WAPI dashboard, you will see this provider name, right? So in my case I'm going to use this Play HT as a default provider, and then the voice ID in this case is we are getting whatever the user session, from the session detail will get that voice ID. So here we'll say I think we don't have the voice ID for this type, so we'll say voice ID of type string. Okay, so that we can easily fetch it. So session detail dot voice ID. Oh, make sure not here. So inside the doctor agent we wanted to show the voice ID. Okay, because that's where we are saving everything. So it need to be on doctor, selected doctor dot voice ID. Now once you provide the voice, you can add a model. Now I will provide a model as a, let's say, provider as OpenAI. Then the model in this case will say GPT-4, and the messages you can provide the role as system, and the content is nothing but the prompt. Okay, now this prompt will get it from the session detail dot selected doctor dot I think that's agent prompt. Okay, so that agent prompt we need to provide, and that's all we needed, and our agent config is now ready. How simple it is, right? Obviously you can customize and you have complete control on your agent now. Now inside the WAPI start, we simply need to provide this WAPI agent config. So maybe something like this. I'm not sure why we are getting this error. Okay, let's ignore this. So over here I will add ts ignore. Okay, and then save it. Now I just found one thing that I wrongly renamed this voice ID, so I just updated to will now, and if I start conversation as I selected gender physician, and then you will see the result.
Hi there, I'm your AI medical assistant. I'm here to help you with any health questions or concerns you might have today. How are you feeling?
How cool it is, right? So it's not only for this particular user, but you can, if you select any of the doctor, it will act in a such a way that it's a completely different doctor AI voice assistant or AI voice agent. Okay, so that's how, guys, you need to provide a configuration. Now once user disconnect the call, at that time we want to generate a detailed report, and that report we are going to generate with the help of LLM model. Here if you see, once we have the conversation, right, and on the click of disconnect, all the messages which we are going to pass to the AI LLM model with the help of our own prompt, and then it will generate a detailed report. If you see, this is the prompt which I created, and I'm making sure that is available to you for free. We will find inside this eraser doc. I will put the link in the description. Now this particular prompt will help us to get the complete report in the form of JSON, and these are some field which we are getting, and at the last we are going to display that on the screen. As simple as that. Okay, so first thing first, let's go back to our application. I will just close this one, and inside this page.tsx we can create a method called constant generate report. Okay, now inside the generate report we need to make an API call to generate an actual report, because we have all the messages. So here we say constant result is equal to await axios dot post, and we are going to create an endpoint called medical report. Okay, now obviously this endpoint we need to create, but to this endpoint we need to pass a messages. Okay, so whatever the messages list we have, that we need to pass. Then we also need to pass a session details. So over here we're going to add session detail as session detail, and then the session ID, because that's where we want to update our report as well. So this much information we need to pass over here. We'll make this as async, and then once we get the data, here we'll say result dot data, and then we'll return result dot data just for testing purpose. Now on the click of this generate this particular generate report method, we are going to call when user cut the call. So over here first, when user cut the call, I will set the loading as a true, and when it's cut it, so here I will just use the result is equal to await generate report method. Okay, and then we'll set loading as a false only when we have the result. Okay, here I will make this as async, and obviously it will wait to get the response, and meantime it will show a loading. So for the disconnect as well, similar like this one, I am going to add a loading state. Okay, so it will show a loader, and in that time I will also disable the button. As simple as that. Now we need to create an API endpoint called medical report. So go to the API folder, and inside this we'll create a new folder or new endpoint called medical report. Inside this we'll create a route.tsx file. We'll say export async function, and this will be the post request, and here I will make this as a next request. Make sure the capital post I will add. Then inside this we need to get a session ID, then session detail, and the last we need to get a messages is equal to await request dot json. Then I will add a try catch block with the exception e. Now similar like this suggested doctor, we need this line of code, so I will copy as it is, and then we need to get a JSON response, so I will copy this line as well, and then I will paste it here. Okay, now make sure to import this OpenAI. Okay, then you need to add a model name, and the most important, you need to add the prompt as well. Okay, so over here whatever the session messages we have, not messages but whatever the prompt we have, we need to pass that prompt. So here I will just remove that, and basically I will write constant report generation prompt at the top, and I will just copy this one, something like this, see. And now I will save this one, and if I go over here, we need to add agent, not agent but report generation prompt. Now to this user I will just, we need to just add a content, so let me remove this, and here I will say, let's add me here, so constant user input, and to this user input I will say json dot stringify the session, let's add a session detail, here we say doctor info AI doctor agent info, I will say. Okay, so here we just need to structurize according to our requirements. Then we want to add conversation, and then inside the conversation we'll again stringify the messages because it's a list of object, right? It is in the form of JSON, and then once we have the user input, we'll pass it. Now at the end of this particular prompt, here we'll say depends on doctor AI agent info, AI agent info, and conversation between AI doctor, I will say medical agent and user. So this particular line maybe we can call at the top, so based on maybe okay, I think this is pretty good now. Okay, so just modify according to your requirements. So I added that line at the top, and then we are passing to this content, and then we'll get the response. This response we need to return it as JSON response, and if we have any error, then we'll just return the error E. Now another important thing over here, once we get the JSON response, we need to save to database. Okay, so over here I will just add constant result is equal to await db dot insert, then here we have session chart table dot values, and inside this we need to add the report. Now this report nothing but the JSON response, whichever JSON response will get it, and then here we need to add a condition because we need to only update that particular record. So here we'll say dot, okay, so it's not insert, it need to be update actually because we want to update the record. So here we'll say set, and then we'll say where. So we want to update the existing record, so here we'll say equal to session chart table dot session ID matches with our session ID which we are getting, as simple as that, and then it will update the record. Okay, and then save it. Now let's test this out. Okay, if you get any error, we'll find it inside the console, so don't worry. So I will just pause the video and I will record a few things over here. So I will start the call and then I will pause the video.
Hi there, I'm your AI medical assistant. I'm here to help you with any health questions or concerns you might have today. How are you feeling?
I have some headache from the morning, so can you please suggest some medicines?
I'm sorry to hear you're dealing with a headache. It can really throw off your day. Let's take things step by step first so I can help you with stress or dehydration.
Here I disconnect the call and waiting for AI response. And after disconnecting the call, you will see inside our response we got the agent name, complaint, duration and all the details. Now obviously over here I just tested with a small data, so it's saying that user did not clarify and state the complaint, duration not specified, severity not specified. Okay, if user don't have or AI model don't have a proper information, it will return this particular text, and that's make a lot of sense. Okay, but if you have proper result, then it will return a complete report for you. And if you see, I tried one more, and in this case we have all this information like medication mention, recommendation and all the details. Not only that, but it is saved into our database. So if I refresh it, you will see it's going to update and save all the information. Perfect, right? So that's how you need to generate the report. Now make sure inside the conversation you can also update the conversation, because that is very important. So simply inside the page dot, or not page, but inside the route along with um, so maybe inside the route, that's where we updated, I think. Go to the medical report, so we were in wrong one. So over here I will also update the conversation with our messages list. Okay, because we already have the messages list and that's what we want to update, and let's save this one. So next time it will also update the report and the conversation. So if you have any question, any doubt regarding to generate the report, let me know in the comment section, because later on we want to display that report on the screen along with all the details. So if I go back to our home screen, now we have the some consultation. So instead of this empty screen, we wanted to show an actual previous history, and from that history user can access the report as well. Now when user end the call, so over here inside the page.tsx, right, at this point we can redirect user to the home screen. So over here we'll say constant router comma set router is equal to use state, or not use state, sorry, my bad. We want to define a router hook, so we'll say use router from the next slash navigation, and then simply we are going to route it. So we'll say router dot replace, and then we'll say slash dashboard, as simple as that. Okay, perfect, and then save it. Now you can even show a toast message saying your report is generated and available to view. Now in order to show such kind of notification or toast message, simply we'll go to the chat scene, and inside the chat scene component search for the sonar component. So it also have toast component, but sonar is also an easiest way to add a toast message. So simply first you need to install this sonar component, and then you need to add a toaster component inside the root layout. So we'll go to the layout file, which is the root layout, and just below this one we'll add a toaster component. Now make sure you will import this toaster component from the UI sonar, and wherever you want to use this toaster you can add that. So here we'll say toast dot success, your report is generated, and then it will navigate to the dashboard, as simple as that. Okay, so guys, I hope you understand this particular report generation example, how we easily generate the report with the help of AI LLM model. Now we want to show the previous history which we consult with the doctor, right? As we already saving into our database, we just need to fetch it and display it on the screen, and from there user can view the report as well in the detail. So first thing first, let's fetch it and display it on the screen, as we already have the component to display this history. So if you see, we have this history list, and currently if the history list is empty, then we are showing this empty state. Now here we need to write a method called constant get history list and the arrow function. Inside this, we'll say we make API call, so axios dot get. As this is a get call, so we'll say slash API slash medical report. We already have the endpoint called medical report, or you can even fetch it from the session chart as well, because in session chart we already have the get method. So here we'll just say session chart, and inside the question mark, because session chart will take the session ID, right? But over here we'll say session ID is equal to all, because we want to fetch all the sessions. Once we have this, I will make this as async, and inside the result I will just console the result as well. We'll say result.data, and then we'll set the history list with result.data. Now this get history list we need to call inside the use effect whenever this component get load. So over here I will just call this get history list, and then we'll get the list. Now simply go to the session chart API endpoint, and here we need to check. Okay, so here we'll say if session ID is equal to all, okay, then we need to make a different API call, otherwise in the else we'll keep this particular result, so something like this. Okay, but for all we just need to remove this where condition, or not where, but here we just need to pass the user email. So over here we'll say session chart table dot created by, and then we need to pass a user information. So we'll say user dot primary email address dot email address, because we don't need to pass a session ID, because we want to fetch all the session depends on user's email or who created that particular session. Also make sure you will get the result in order by, we'll say descending, because we want to fetch the first element at the top, or the latest element at the top. So over here we'll say session chart table dot ID, so depends on the ID it will fetch it, and then save everything. Now let's go to the history list, and I will just refresh the screen. Inside the inspect panel, if I go to the console, if you see, now we got the list, and here so I think that's history list. So inside the history list, if you see, we have only one result. Okay, so that's because let me go back. We are supposed to get the list, but here we are just deleting the first item, so I will remove that. And now if I refresh the screen, we'll get the two record, because inside the database we only have the two record. Okay, perfect. Now once you have this list of history, we just need to iterate it and display it on the screen. So now in order to display it, we'll create a new component for the history table. So I'm going to use the shatcn table component. So make sure to import that first, and then copy this import statement. Under this component folder, we'll call history table.tsx, add a default template, and make sure to import this. Also I will copy this example and we'll paste it here. Now obviously you can update this. So over here we'll say previous consultation reports. Then you can change the table rows. So in this case I want to add a column as AI medical specialist. Then the another is description, date, and then action. Okay, obviously here we need to show our actual record, but for now let's save this one and make simply add this history table component. Okay, if I go back to our application, you will see this example. Perfect, right? Now obviously inside that we need to provide an actual information, so I also added the history list with a type session detail. Okay, because we already have this session detail and I exported this one so that we can use that and make sure it's a list. Now simply pass this session, sorry, what is the name, it's a history list. Okay, so I will pass it as a history list only, and inside the history table I will create a type props is equal to history list as session detail, and here I will get it as a history list with props. Perfect, and then save it. Okay, so this need to be a list, so make sure it's a list. Okay, now you don't have that error. Now once you have the history list, we just need to iterate that. So inside the table row over here, we'll simply add history list dot map record. So for the record I will add a session detail, and index is of type number and the arrow function. Inside this I'm going to simply define this table row. Now the first column is record, we'll say record dot notes, so whatever user entered, not user entered, but I think here I wanted to add a selected doctor dot specialist name. Then we'll say record dot notes. Over here we'll add a date, so we'll say record dot created on, and then for action here I'm going to simply add a button, we'll say view report. Now for this button I will add a class name, not class name, but let's add a variant, actually variant as a outline, or maybe we can make it ghost, and I will also change the size to small. And if you see, we have this view report option. Let's change this tool, say let's say link, and let's see how it looks. Perfect, that is also good. Okay, so here we have gender specialist name, description, and the date. Over here if you see, we have the width, so I will change this to let's say 300, and then we have the description. For the description as well I will give some specific width, make it 200 actually, and the date. What if we remove this one and let's see how it looks? I think this is also good. Okay, so depends on the size, it automatically check it. Anyway, so now we have the list as well. Okay, and we want to format this date. So in order to format the date in a specific format, first make sure to install this moment JavaScript library, which is very powerful library. Let me show you that. So moment.js is a date formatting library which you can format any date and any type. So in our case we want to format the record, so over here first we'll add a moment library. So if it's not get imported automatically, make sure to import it manually, and then I will add the moment. Inside this we'll say new date, and for inside this new date we need to pass this string. Okay, because this created out is in the form of string, and then we'll say from now, and then save it. Now if I go over here, if you see, we got 32 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, and like that. How cool. So that's how we need to update and display it on the screen. Now next part, what we want to do is on the click of this view report, we want to open a dialog, or maybe we can open a sidebar, and on the sidebar we wanted to show an actual report information, because we are already saving that, we just wanted to display it on the screen. on the click of this view report, we wanted to open the report in the form of dialog. So simply we are going to use a shared CN dialog component. So first let me close all of this tab, and inside this component we'll create a new component called view report dialog.tsx. Add a default template and then save it. Now inside this view report we'll import the dialog component. So we already have this dialog component installed, so you don't need to install it again. Just import all the statements and then this example and save it. Now over here we'll use the same view report button. Okay, so whichever button we use, so I will just cut it from here and then we'll paste it inside this dialog trigger. Also to this one we'll say view report dialog and then save it. Okay, now if I go back to our application, if I click on this one, let me refresh the screen once, and then when we click on this, see the dialog is getting open. Perfect. Now on this view report, okay, we need to accept the prop from this view report. So depends on this record, we need that. So here we'll pass it as a record only, and over here I will accept as a record. Here I will add a type props. I will say for record I will say session detail, and then here I will pass as a props. Okay, now once we have the record information, let's update the title. So over here I will add a h2 tag. We'll say medical AI voice agent report. I will say class name, text to be in the center, text to Excel, and save it. For this title, dialog title, I will mark this as a child. I will just make sure refresh the screen and it's showing correctly or not. So I will say view report, and if you see we have this beautiful text in the center of the screen. I will just make it little bigger. Then for the description, let's add a div first. Here I will mark as a child, and inside this very first thing that we wanted to show some doctor information, we can say. So over here we'll say h2 tag visit info. I will add a font bold, text maybe we can color this over to blue, and text larger. Over here I will add a margin top to 10, so some space. Now below that we'll add a div. I will make the sure to add grid column 2. Okay, inside this we'll add a div again. We'll add a h2 tag. We'll say doctor specialization, and then we wanted to show the doctor specialization here. So we have the record dot selected doctor dot specialist. Okay, something like this. Then we wanted to show a visit date, or maybe we can show the description first. Description, or that's fine. I think we don't need a description. We'll just keep it like something like this, and another text on the right hand side we can show which is the visit date or consultant date. Consultant date, I don't know what it's called, but let's say consult date. Here we'll say record dot created on. Now obviously here we'll format this one, so we'll say new date they created on dot from now. Okay, now even though if you don't need this, you can just remove that, and we'll keep only this h2 tag. See, okay, so we have general physician and our AGO. You can wrap this in a span tag. and maybe you can add a class name font bold. Okay, I think that's look much better. Now I will just pause the video and I will finish all the other remaining implementation for this report, because it will take some time to show it one by one, but I will make sure to available this in the source code so that you can access it, and after I pause the video I will implement it and then I will show you the end result. And here is the final result, where you will see the session info, the chief complaints, the summary of our conversation, the symptoms, what is the actual symptoms, the duration for that, and the most important, the medication mentioned. So this AI agent suggested that okay, you can take ibuprofen and the another medicine as well, and then if you have any other recommendation, that recommendation too. At the bottom I just make sure that okay, this report was generated by AI, and you can take reference of actual doctors as well. And that's how guys you can generate the and display the report to the user. How easy it is, right? Now second important thing, once user click on this history tab, we also wanted to show a same screen. Okay, so simply before moving to the next chapter, I'm going to create a new route under the dashboard called history, and inside this history we'll create a page.tsx file, add a default template. Here we'll say history only, and simply you can add a history list component. Okay, now to this app header, so make sure you have the correct route. So we'll say dashboard slash history, and now if I go to this history, you will see the only history which you have, and obviously here also you can see the report. Okay, if I go to this home screen again, then you can able to see all your dashboard information. So from home I will just make sure the path is correct, which is a dashboard. I just remember that we did not added the link tag over here because we wanted to navigate, right? So over here I will add hrefs with options dot path, so it will navigate to that particular path. Okay, so if I click history, if I click home, boom, you will navigate to that page. And again, if you start a consultation, start some basic info, and then it will start it again. As we are building a SaaS application and we want to add a billing or subscription model into our app. Now, whenever a user come to our application, and if he is a free user and did not subscribe to our paid plan, then user will have access to only general physician, and then he can only consult once. Okay, but if you want to continue with our platform, then he have to subscribe to our pricing model, and that's where the subscription pricing is very important. And adding a payment gateway is a big headache to any web or mobile application, but it's no longer a headache to your head, because recently Clerk introduced an all new feature called subscription billing. Subscription billing with the help of Clerk is very easy to integrate, just one line of code. It connected to a Stripe payment gateway, which help us to integrate Stripe directly to your application with just one line of code with the help of Clerk billing model. And today in this particular project, we are going to integrate this Clerk billing feature into our application. Currently, they provide a subscription pricing model, and that's what we are going to see. Now, simply go to your dashboard, as we already used this Clerk authentication, and on this dashboard you will see now there is a new option called subscription. Just click on this one, and right now just get started, just enable this. Now I will say get started. Now here right now we need to create few plans, whether it's a paid plan or pro monthly, like that. Okay, now in the free plan, if you see, obviously you have option to add more plan, but in the free plan you can just click on it, and then you can provide some description. It's a free, so, and it's publicly available. Now here you can add a feature, so we'll say one consult So one free medical consultation. Then I will say free medical report, and like that you can create a multiple one. Okay, so I think for now as free we don't want to give much and simply save it. But now if I go back to this plan screen, now we can add a paid plan. So I'll click on add plan and give the plan name. So here we'll say pro. Inside the pro plan you can mention the pricing. Okay, now you can even enable the annual discount as well. So for example, for annual I will give 699, and for monthly you can give it as a 799. Then you can add a feature, so you can add from the existing one. Okay, or you can even create new one. So here we'll say 20 medical consultant per month. You can write like this maybe. Then you can add a description if you want. Here we'll say unlimited reports. Then I will add email support, priority support, and many other options. You can add that. Okay, and simply save it. Now we have two plans, one is free and one is pro. Now once you create that, here make sure to enable the billing. Okay, now currently remember that we are in the development mode. Okay, so right now Clerk automatically use the development credential for the Stripe payment gateway. But once you are moved to the production, then you have to connect your own Stripe payment gateway. Okay, so that you will get the money, otherwise you will not get it. Okay, now once the payment is enabled, simply click on the read billing guide, and here click on this B2C SaaS. Now just scroll down, and in order to show the pricing, you just need to import this pricing table option. So we'll go back to our application. Here we want to create brand new screen or brand new route inside the dashboard, and we can call it as a billing. So we'll say billing. Inside this we'll add a route, page .tsx, add a default template, and then we'll rename this to billing. Now inside here we'll add this pricing model. I will add h2 tag. We'll say select or join the subscription. We can call it as join subscription. Over here we'll add a font bold, text 3XL. Now once you add this pricing model, make sure to import it from the Clerk Next.js and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, so over here we have slash billing screen that we added, and then you will see the magic. Boom, it has this pricing model get added automatically. Obviously it's matching our theme, so you don't need to make any modification. But most important thing, we have these beautiful pricing tables. Now over here I will add some styling. So we'll say padding X to 10. On medium screen we'll give padding X to 24. On large screen we'll give padding X to 48, and extra large will give padding X to 64. Okay, so I think that's too small. Let me remove this. I think this is much better. Now I will give margin bottom to 10, and then when you click subscribe, it will open a Stripe payment gateway inside your application. You don't need to jump on a third party URL. Here you will find all the details. Okay, if you selected the bill manually or monthly, depends on that one, it will change the value. Whatever the features we added or plan information we added is showing on the screen, and here you have option to add a card number and everything. Now you have option pay with the test card, and once you paid, it's saying payment is successful. And if I go to this pricing again, so we'll go to the dashboard slash billing, then you will see now this particular pricing is an active one, means you join this pro membership. Okay, so that's how you need to implement it. Now the question is, how can we detect whether user is joined or not? If you want to cancel later on, you can cancel it. Simply go to this manage account inside the Clerk, and then you will find this option called billing. Inside this billing, now you will see your subscription. You can check all your statement, the previous payment history, your payment card, and if you want to cancel any of them, you have option to cancel this subscription as well from this Clerk component. That's why we are using the Clerk authentication and Clerk billing subscription feature. Now moving back to our application here, now we have to make sure if user is not subscribed, then we wanted to show some kind of premium. Okay, so this of the doctor is premium, we have to show that. So let's go to this list.tsx, and to this AI doctor agent I added a new field called subscription required. Now for the first one is false, but for all others the subscription is required. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a badge. So simply go to the Chatcn, make sure to install this badge component. So this is how it will look like. Okay, so I just copy this and make sure to install this. Once it is installed, I will go to the let's go to this page.tsx where we have this doctor agent list, and inside the agent card we'll verify it. Now here I will add this badge component, and inside this we'll say premium, okay, as a premium text. That's all, and then save it. And if you see, the text is showing on the screen, but we wanted to show on the top of image. So let's add a class name and we'll make this absolute, so it will be in the inside. Now we'll give padding a to 2 and we'll say write 0. Oops, sorry. So over here I will mark this as a relative as well and give more padding. So let's say padding 3. Oh, I think this is much better. Maybe we can add a margin 1, or let's make this to 2. Perfect. Okay, so now it's showing it as a premium, but we wanted to show badge only when the, so first I will add doctor agent dot, I don't know why it's not showing, but if I go to this list, we have this subscription required option, right? So I will make sure I will add this field so that we can get from this doctor agent. So we'll say doctor agent dot subscription required. If it's true, then only show it. See, now for this one it's not showing, but for all other it's showing. Now another important thing, we need to verify if user is joined as a paid member. Okay, then only we want to enable this button, otherwise we want to disable it. So from the documentation you will find it has a method called has premium access. Okay, so you can get this value. If you are using server side, you have to use auth, otherwise, sorry, you have to use this await auth, otherwise you can use auth as well. So let me show you how you can do it. So over here we'll use auth method, which you can use on the client side, and it has a method called has. Okay, now here we'll say constant paid user is equal to has dot, so let me get back here. So here this is how we need to add. So we needed to check if user is joined as a paid user or not, and then we need to provide a plan name. Now simply go to this subscription, maybe go to the configuration under this billing setting, or maybe inside the if I scroll down, subscription, go to subscription plan, go to the pro, and this slug name you have to use to refer and attach over here. Okay, so right now it's saying is possibly undefined, so here we'll say has, I don't know, or maybe you can just ignore this. Now if user is a paid user, okay, then simply, if it is not paid user, then we have to disable this button. So we'll say disable if it is not the paid user, and doctor agent dot subscription required. So let's save this one, go back to your application. So we have this dehydration error, so that's weird. So okay, so over here we need to mark this as a client one. So that's what the error was. Okay, we have one more error, so it's saying has is not a function. So let's see why. So here I'm going to check if has is there, then only check it. Okay, and maybe we can console.log with a paid user. So I think it will just return true or false. So if I go to the console, if you see, it's returning true. It means it's a paid user, and obviously you have option to connect it. Also, we have to make sure user will not click on the start consultation button if user already have more than one what we call it as a consultation already. I had made conversation with the AI agent. So for that one, I will go to the, let's go to the page.tsx, because inside the page.tsx we have this add new session dialog, right? So click on this add new session dialog, and here similar like this has method, so I will copy this as it is inside this add new session dialog. Make sure to import this use auth, and here I will verify first. Okay, obviously user cannot create if user already created more than one. So maybe we can disable this button. Paid user, if it's not paid user, and user has more than or let's do one thing. For now I will just keep it as the same condition if not paid user. Okay, right now if user is paid user, obviously you have option to do it. Okay, so it's working as expected. But if user already have, then this information you need to pass to this particular session dialog. So the way that you can do it, so if I go to the page.tsx where we have this history lead, from the history lead you need to pass it. So I will say set history list record to result dot data, and this one I am going to return back. I will put the type any, then inside the page.tsx I will accept that. Maybe I will just undo everything, and I will not pass, so I will undo here as well. Better we can directly call this inside our add new session dialog. So we'll import the use effect, then we have get list. Here maybe we can define the constant history list comma set history list is equal to use state, and obviously we need to provide a type. So I will copy this use state as it is. Make sure to import this session details so we can save that. And if history list dot length is greater, then we don't want to show. So here we'll add a condition: if history list dot length is greater than equal to 1 and not a paid user, then it should disable it. Okay, so right now it's enabled because it's a paid user. But once user is unpaid, so make sure to test that scenario as well. Okay, so just sign in with a different account and then you can able to test that scenario too. Okay, so that's all for this particular chapter. If you have any question, any doubt, let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to connect this pricing option. So I will go to this app header where we have this pricing, or not pricing, but it should be a billing. So we'll say dashboard slash billing. Okay, so now if I go back, click on pricing, and then it jumped to this pricing model. Perfect. Now I just sign out and sign in with an all new user which is not subscribed, and if you see currently the button are disabled. Also I don't have any record, so I can create one consultation for free, but only this start consultation with this general physician is enabled. Now when user click on any of these options, right, we want to navigate to this conversation screen. Obviously we need to create a new record with an session chart ID, similar like the way which we are doing over here. Only thing that we don't need to add is this particular note section. Okay, but here user can directly talk without providing any basic input. So to do that, simply we want to copy the same code which we use it initially. So for now we'll go to the routes. Inside this we have this doctor agent list, and inside the doctor agent card, that's where we need to create a method. So we'll say constant, or maybe we can reuse the existing one. So from the add new session dialog, so here we have this on start consultation. I will copy as it is. I will paste it here. So here we have the set loading and state, so I will just copy this state as well. Make sure to import this use state, then make sure to add this axios. Now for the node you can add new query or new conversation, whatever you want to add. For the selected doctor, I'm gonna put a doctor agent as it is, because inside the doctor agent we have that selected doctor, and once we have the data we want to navigate it, so we'll say constant router is equal to use router, and then it will navigate to that particular session ID. Okay, now whenever there is a loading is true, we can show a loading indicator. So here we'll say if loading, then we can show a loader icon, otherwise we can show this arrow right icon. Here I will add animate spin and then save it. Okay, so as simple as that. Now if I click on this start consultation, okay, so it looked like nothing's happening. Let me refresh this screen once and click on start consultation. It looked like we might have error. If I go to the console, I don't see any error. Let's go over here, check if new record get added or not. I don't think so. Okay, so the reason that is not working because we did not attach this method to the button. Okay, so on the click of the start consultation we need to call this method. Now if I click on start consultation, you will see this loading icon and it's redirected to this consultations page where now you can start the conversation. Pretty good, right? So that's how guys you have to work around. This is very simple, just follow the step. Right now obviously you have one consultation. In the view report you will not see anything because you did not have a conversation, right? But over here if you see, it's disabled. The start consultation is disabled because you have only one query and one consultation for free which you already use it. So that's how you have to implement the logic for the pricing. Now it's time to deploy our application on the cloud. And obviously, once you push this application to a production, you can share this with your friends and family. Obviously, you can start earning money with this application because this is the SaaS application. We build it, and this is the application which we build completely from the scratch. Now, first thing first, we are going to push our complete code on a GitHub. So we'll go to the GitHub, and then we'll create a new repo. So once we connect push our changes to GitHub, simply we're gonna connect to a Vercel. Give the repo name. So we'll say AI medical voice agent. Then we can make it this public or private, it's up to you, and then simply create the repo. Once you create a repo, you have to set the remote origin. So we'll initialize this git first. So here I will clear everything, and then we'll say git init to initialize the git, then set the remote origin, and then we have to stage all the files. So we'll add a command git add dot, then we'll commit the changes. We'll say git commit -m initial commit as a message, and then we'll push the changes. If you are pushing first time, make sure to push with this command, and then it will push all your changes to the GitHub repo. Now we'll go back to the GitHub repo and we'll refresh this window, and here you will see just now we push all these changes. Okay, now let's jump on to the Vercel.com where you can deploy your Next.js project completely for free. Simply add a new project. If you don't have a GitHub account connected, make sure to connect, and then you will see a project name, click import. Then here it automatically detects the project framework. So in this case is a Next.js, but you can see there are other options as well. Then you will find the project name as well. You can update that if you want. Add this environment variable. So expand it. You have to add this all the environment variables. So I will go back to .env file and simply copy all these environment variables and then paste it here. It will automatically assign the key and their respective value for this environment variable and keys. And then the last step is to deploy your application by pressing the deploy button. Once the deployment started, you will see it will build your project, install the dependencies, and then it will assign a domain where you will find your project. If you have any error while building this project, you can simply go to the build logs and check the error if you have any error. Okay, and then fix that and push the changes again. As simple as that. It will automatically trigger the Vercel project build deployment. Now if I open this project, you will see it asking me to sign in first. That's because I think we did not added the landing or home screen as a public route. And if I go to the middleware, you will find over here we need to add a slash as a public route. It means the default page or landing screen will be now a public route. Now once you make the changes, simply push the changes. We'll add it, then we'll commit it, and then we'll push these changes. Now it automatically triggered the deployment, so you don't need to do anything, guys, because we connected GitHub to the Vercel, so you don't need to manually trigger every time. Okay, now once you sign in to your application, we'll go to the dashboard, and boom, our application is now live on the actual domain, and everything will work as expected. How cool, right? So that's how, guys, you can deploy your application on the cloud. Now if you have any question, any doubt, you can ask me on my Discord channel, or you can ask or drop a comment under this video. Also, if you did not subscribe to our channel, please do subscribe. Press notification bell icon so that you will not miss any update, and press like button. We'll see you in next video.